Hey y'all, happy Tuesday. I feel like I never get on live this early, but I feel like I got something to say today. And so I had needed to hop on here real quick. Because I'm in a weird place in my journey. Not a weird place. I just think I'm figuring things out about myself. And I kind of want to talk about them. Because one, I realized that I was in a holding pattern these last couple of weeks because I had did all this work to get to this place where I'm in inner alignment. And then when I got there, I didn't know what the fuck to do with it. Meaning like I didn't know how to move. Like this is something I've never done before. So I was sitting in a waiting pattern, basically waiting for something to happen, waiting for something to move. And it was a weird place to be because I was just like, well, what, get the fuck up, bitch, do something. Like you got to do something, because I think I was like in this place of where I was learning how to detach my value from like effort, right? How much I can do, how much I can produce and stuff like that. And so as I was doing that, I was trying to learn how to trust in my magnetism, but I didn't realize that you being in the energy of reception does not mean that you're doing nothing. It means that you're trusting that what you're doing is enough. And so you're still being devoted to what it is that you're creating. You're still being devoted to what it is that you are producing, but you're just not doing it from this place of scrambling. You're not doing it from this place of trying to force outcomes, right? And so this weekend, like I was in meditation, I kept seeing 1222. And so I was like, okay, 1222 is coming up, like something is going to change that day. It did. I got my ass the fuck up and I started acting like I knew what I was doing, And so anyways, that was a weird place to be because I felt like I had did all the work and the goal for a long time was just to get to this place where I was in inner alignment and where I was moving from my truth. And when I got there, I just froze, like I froze for a second. So that was strange. And then something that has been happening to me over these last couple of weeks or last couple of months is something that I'm now calling truth sensitivity, where I will be in conversation and community with people. And I no longer have a tolerance for illusion, for ego, for spiritual bypassing, for like anything like that. And what I mean by that is like, I cannot stay in the conversation. Like I cannot. It feels like static. It feels like disruption. It feels like interference. It feels like it's so uncomfortable for me. And so recently what I've been trying to do is figure out how to still be in community with people who are in different places in their journey as me, because I also think that a lot of times we think that as we spiritually elevate, we got to get rid of everybody. And that's not true. I think that if you still have shared interests with people and people still respect, support you, make you feel seen, y'all don't have to be at the same place, Sorry, I had to hear my part. So one thing that has happened is like anytime I feel like somebody is operating from a place of not being honest, I am having like an adverse reaction to them. I'm having a physical reaction to them. And so yesterday it was really bad because it was ego. And I think that I've kind of always had like a ick. Like I get the ick when people are in their ego and they think that they're showing me something. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like especially it happens a lot of times when it comes to knowledge. And I feel like it's because I'm somebody who does a lot of knowledge sharing and I create a safe space for people to share knowledge and, to share differing opinions and stuff like that. So I feel like other people who have deemed themselves to be knowledgeable and stuff like that, sometimes they try to prove their knowledge to me, but they'll do it in such a way that it's just like, ew, I hated that actually. And so I was talking to somebody on the phone and they was telling me about a conversation they had with somebody about religion and how they was basically like, yeah, I was telling the person that, the Bible was created at the Council of Nice and, all of this stuff, which is nothing wrong with that. But it was just like, you don't even know where your Bible comes from and you planned your whole life off of this and da-da-da. And it's like shaming people for where they are. And so I immediately like say that. Because it's like I cannot sit like I immediately it's just coming out of me. And so then I'm like, damn, but am I still operating from this place of trying to fix people or trying to help people to transcend where they are? And that's not my position. That's not my place to heal, fix, and save you, And so I was catching myself. But what's crazy about that is like this person's ego lit up like a motherfucking Christmas tree. Like it was lit. And it was just like, yeah. And I was telling them this, and it was so condescending. It was so rude. It was so just, ugh. And it just made me realize that there's so many people who are in the spiritual space, or so many people who are intellectuals that are still spiritual bypassing, or that are still not understanding that there's a difference between emotional intelligence and emotional maturity, right? Emotional intelligence is a skill. It is something that you can learn. And so I think a lot of people perform emotional intelligence, but emotional intelligence is nothing without emotional maturity, because emotional maturity is actually the embodiment of the thing that you are saying. You know, it's kind of like the same thing where people use truth as a weapon. Truth is nothing without compassion, right? Truth is just another weapon that you're using if you're not using truth with compassion. You know, and I think what I've been seeing online is a lot of women stepping into their power. And yes, I am all for that. Claps, 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 pats on the backs, right? But then it's just like they think that reclaiming their power is just saying shit more bluntly and not giving a fuck what people think about what they have to say. And I'm just like, no, we've lost the plot up in there somewhere, because it's more than that. You know, I think if you are operating from a place of thinking that bluntness or cruelty is you being real, or you stepping into your power, then it's the illusion of power again, because true power is not forceful, it's radiant. You know, it's a radiant thing. And so if you're operating from that place, then you still have not healed from your wounds. And I don't say that from a place that lacks compassion, because I think getting to this place is fucking hard. It's so hard because you have to literally unpack everything that you've been taught in society. You have to unpack everything that you've been taught by your family, everything that you've witnessed, everything that you have examples for. You have to create new examples for those things. And so it's really challenging to get to that place, but you know what truth feels like in your body, right? And so I have like somebody that I follow, and I actually like her, but I feel like she's decided that her stepping in or reclaiming her power is just being bold, rude, nasty, and cruel, and just not giving a fuck how people take that. And I'm like, that is not you reclaiming your power. That is you performing power again. And you doing it from a very masculine energy, any motherfucking way. It's rooted in patriarchy to do it in force. You know, and so it's just like, no, like you have to heal from your wounds so that you can become a clear vessel. Like you have to heal from your wounds so you're not just responding from this place of defense, because that's what it feels like. It feels like responding from this place of defense, like you're defending something, you're trying to prove something, you're trying to show people that you're not want to be fucked with. But it's just like, but then that's not rooted in truth. That's rooted in pain. You know, and one thing that Spirit told me recently when I was sitting with myself is that my power doesn't come from my pain. It comes from my transformation. It comes from the wisdom that I've gained from the experience, not the experience itself. Yes, the pain needed to happen because pain is a catalyst to change. Sometimes you just don't want to look at shit if you comfortable in that shit. And so pain comes along to hit you upside your motherfucking head. So you like, ouch, what's that? And then you look in the direction where the pain is coming from, right? And so pain gives you like a set of eyes. But the pain itself is not where you're supposed to stay rooted. The pain is what causes the transformation. It's what allows you to see things with a new light and a new pair of eyes that you wouldn't have seen before because it didn't hurt enough. Right? Yes, Irie. Oh, hey, boo. I've been stalking you, girl. I'm so excited about this tour thingy that you doing in I think you're in Africa. I don't know. But I love it though. Like I love seeing you just be radiant and entering rooms and people responding to your energy, and period. I love that for you, sister. But anyways, back to what I was saying, like, I think that we need to understand that emotional maturity is a high frequency. It takes you being at a high frequency in order for you to reach it. Compassion, which needs to be used with truth, is a high frequency. It requires you to uplift out of the things that you know and to do things a different way. And I think I see people getting it, intellectualizing it, but they haven't felt enough in order for them to move in a direction that actually changes them. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people just want to be comfortable in their chaos instead of moving out of the chaos. They just want to find a way to feel safe within a system they've already built, you know? And that does not help anything because it defeats the fucking purpose. Hey, Hija. Hey, Lily. Hey, D. Will. You know? And so it's like people just want to be comfortable where they are and stay comfortable in they shit, but they don't actually want to do the stuff that transforms them up out of it, if that makes sense. And so I don't know. I'm just in this strange place where it's like, I feel like I need to speak up about these things, because I feel like until you get to this place, you really don't know how to navigate it, you know? And so what I've been realizing lately is my adverse reaction to ego and to spiritual bypass and to stuff like that. And so I just wanted to hop on here today and just kind of talk about it, because I feel like I don't want to be the type of person who flees where because I seen this video the other day of this Money Long. Money Long was talking about, she had a session with J. Cole, and that she was talking about somebody poorly within the industry when J. Cole walked in. And he walked in, he didn't say anything, he sat down. But she continued to talk about this person in a negative light. He just got up and walked away. He didn't say nothing about it. He didn't try to correct her. He didn't try to help her transcend it. He just left. And I was just like, yeah, I mean, I get that. You know, I get that, because you want to protect your energy. But at what point is that escapism, you know? And so I kind of sat with that, and I realized that you realigning with yourself and realigning with a frequency that better suits where you are in your life is not you abandoning people, is not you trying to hurt people, is you trying to realign with yourself, and you also honoring yourself rather than staying in a place just out of fear, or staying in a place just because you want to be seen or you want to belong, you know? So I'm starting to realize that there is a such thing as sacred leaving, you know, and that you can choose to stay in a place of alignment if you're in an environment that's not suited for you, you know? And I don't think that comes from clarity. It doesn't come from fear. So I think it's different than running away. And so I actually came to that understanding this week too, because I feel like I didn't realize that some of the environments that I'm still in, as I'm navigating, as I'm changing, as I'm growing, and all of these things, I feel like some of them are still unsafe. Some of them are not honest. And I don't want to stay in those situations. And so me walking away is me choosing to return to myself. And I do get a right to do that. Hold on. I've learned to walk away myself because I once would join in just to connect. Me too, babe. Me too. And I feel like that's real though. And that's honest. And that's how honest you got to be with yourself on your journey, because we don't realize that until we acknowledge that, then we can't break the contract. We can't break the contract of us staying just to be part of something, you know? And I feel like another thing that I was thinking about this morning when I was in the shower, and I know I'm kind of bouncing around from topic to topic, but baby, my brain is just scattered this morning. But when I was in the shower, I was just like, damn, there's so many people who are in connection with other people just for the sake of being in connection with other people, because they think that connection just means you have to have other people around. But I've never felt more lonely in my life than being around other people. You know, like you could still feel very lonely around other people if your needs are not being met, if you're misunderstood, if you're not supported, if you're not seen. And so we be thinking that connection just means having friends, but having friends is not the fucking goal. The goal is intimate connection, is true intimacy, it's emotional vulnerability. You know, it's not just the connection itself, because then you're still going to feel alone within the connection. You know what I'm saying? And so like, I've been thinking about connection recently, and I think it's probably because Venus just moved into Sagittarius and it's squaring Neptune. And Neptune is about you looking into your belief systems and you making sure you operating based off of what you actually believe opposed to society. And so I feel like this has been coming up for me recently, because I'm starting to realize that me walking away and protecting my peace in connections that don't really suit me, don't really see me, make me have to convince people of who I am or prove who I am, or don't really even value my motherfucking opinion when I got valuable shit to say, I can't be around that, you know? And so like, I've realized that me leaving is not me trying to punish people. It's not me being dramatic. It's not me giving up on people. I'm leaving in love. I'm leaving in clarity. And there's no need for me to have to explain that to people. You know, and I used to feel bad for that, because sometimes I just be on the phone with people and I'm just like, I can't do it no more. Like I'm thinking of 1,000 different ways that I got to get off the phone with you. So I'm just going to get off the phone with you, you know? And it's like, I'm starting to realize that that is just me. Because if I don't move, that's me betraying myself just to stay around you. And for what reason? Right. And I don't want to punish people for where they are, because again, I think sometimes we get to the other side or the spiritual side of things and we understand things better, but then we just use different weapons to do the same fucking thing. I don't want to be the type of person who does that. You know, I'm always going to do it the hard way, because I want to be moving from an honest place. I want to be moving from a loving place. I want to actually consider the people that are sitting across from me. And I don't need the people around me to be where I am. I just need to feel safe in that space. And it needs to be a safe space where I can express and be honored in that space. And if I can't have that, then I have to walk away from it, if that makes sense. Did that make sense? Thank you. I've left rooms this year instead of using my energy to help other people realign. Yeah, because I think that if you start trying to help other people realign, that is you trying to fix and you trying to help them to transcend. And so one thing that I've been trying to learn this year is compassionate witnessing, meaning that witnessing from a compassionate place and understanding where somebody is. Like one thing that I've started to understand and something that I used to do is like with religion, right? You have a lot of people who haven't really studied the Bible, haven't really looked into who created the Bible, like haven't really looked into any of those things, right? But believe in this thing wholeheartedly. And so when I actually started studying the Bible and I read this book called Astral Worship by J.H. Hill, it's an esoteric book. It was written in the 80s, completely wiped from history. There's nothing you could really find about this man online because they didn't want us to have access to it, right? But I got my hands on it because I am very skilled at finding things that are hidden. Right. And so I read this book and it was teaching me about, our holidays. It was teaching me about Christianity, where it comes from, the University of Alexandria, and how schools and religion were basically used to civilize people, which really just means colonize them, make them obedient, control them, whatever the case may be. Right. And so when I started learning this information, I started to resent religion a little bit. And with me resenting religion, it was just like, damn, it's controlling people, it's da-da-da. But I could still see the nuance in the situation, meaning that I think the Bible is one of the most beautiful books ever written. And it wasn't even written by them. It was put together by them in the Council of Nice. But it's actually written by the Sibyls, right, who were prophets, right? And so me knowing all that, I've been able to make a fair decision about that, right? But then I would be having conversations with other people who know this knowledge, and it feels good just anytime you're interacting with people who know as much as you, if you are a person who is knowledgeable, because sometimes you can kind of feel starved for intellectual conversation, right? And so I know people who used to be in the Christianity deeper than me, meaning like they kind of grew up in that environment, and then they start to resent their parents for it. And so when they get out of it, they start using their knowledge about Christianity as a weapon. And they start shaming their parents like, oh, you don't even know where this comes from. You didn't even look up this book. But it's like, what I've realized is that some people cling to religion because it gives them purpose, meaning, and structure where they didn't have none. Like a lot of times when people turn to religion, is because they feel lost. They feel lost to themselves, and they will need to believe in something higher. They need faith needs to be restored for them. And so it's like, I understand, like I had a friend who recently lost like her best friend. And like one thing that she did is she started going back to church, and she called me about it. And, she talked to me about it, and I was like, oh, I think that's good for you or whatever, because I feel like sometimes religion is teaching you spirituality. Is just only teaching you from a limited perspective, so I think as long as you look at it with your own eyes and you don't just listen to what the preacher is saying, you make your own determination from, you read the book yourself, you get to build a relationship, it can lead you to the same place. You know what I'm saying? And so I think sometimes people resent their parents for putting them into a system that causes control, manipulation, and stuff like that. And they start using the knowledge of that system as a weapon. And then you're just still creating hurt. You know what I'm saying? Like you still are hurting people with now just wisdom, So I'm just in this weird fucking place where I just see things almost too clearly. And I don't know. It's like I have so much compassion for people who are just, because you got to think, anybody who turns to religion, they just want to believe in something more. Like it does still restore faith. It makes you feel like there's a reason for you living. There's a meaningful reason for you living, when shit has gone to shit. And I think especially in these times, and we shouldn't be shaming people for not doing it our way. Like I think everybody has to kind of learn their own way, and we supposed to be here supporting and helping each other through that with compassion. I think we get so stuck in our own shit and thinking that we figure something out that we start to shit on the people who are just not where we are. And that it's just really unfair. It's really unfair. And we don't realize that like two things can exist at once, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And what I mean by that is like, you could be telling the truth, but still being passive aggressive in that truth, and I think the truth is something that's supposed to liberate us. It's not supposed to be something that separates us. And, and that's why I brought up the whole thing about emotional intelligence and emotional maturity being two different things, because they are. And if you don't understand that, then you'll be re-traumatizing people. You'll just be re-traumatizing people. You know, I feel like you can understand certain things and not integrate them or not embody them, you know? And so like you get people who understand like attachment theory, they understand what different attachment styles are in a relationship, but then they still abandon themselves in relationships because knowing is not enough. You know, knowing something is not enough. You need to actually integrate it. You actually need to embody it. You know, you could be speaking to someone calmly and still be passively aggressive. You know what I'm saying? That happens in the workplace all the time. You know, so knowing is not enough. Emotional maturity is how you show up when everything falls away. It's how you actually embody emotional intelligence. And I just think that sometimes knowledge can be like a armor for your ego. And I see so many people who step into the spiritual space or they step into the intellectual space and they're just bypassing. They're just using them being correct as another way to abuse people. Does that make sense? Did I articulate that right? Or in a way that y'all understood? Okay, good. Sorry to interrupt, but I do want to know, are your cards now available for purchase? Oh yeah, baby, they've been available. So if you go to my website, and I'm still refunding people too, for the pre-orders. I think I only have like 5 or 6 people left for that. So just keep me updated with that. I'm doing 3 people a week. But yeah, if you go to my website, www.bigtajj.com, scroll down on the first page, you'll see the deck and click where it says, I think it says like buy now or something like that. Yeah, it's there. Okay, good, y'all. Because sometimes I feel like it'd be hard for me to like organize it in real time when I'm like thinking about it, but I don't know. Like I just feel like I'm in such a different place in my life right now because I really have spent so much time aligning with my truth that like when I'm put in these situations that don't feel true to me, like in the moment, sometimes I don't realize it, but then I'll get off the call with somebody or I'll get off with somebody, and then I think about it and I'm just like, why did that irritate me so much? And then when I sit with it, I'm like, oh, because this is spiritual bypassing. Like, for example, like I was having a conversation with somebody who is not the same race as me, and I feel like they were coming into a Black space, but not acknowledging, like wanting everything to kind of fall around white comfort, because this whole entire society is built around prioritizing the comfort of white people. And so like they were bypassing in a Black space. And I feel like if you come into a Black space, you're going to have to get uncomfortable and you're going to have to release your comfortability as a white person, because Black people have never been able to be comfortable. And so if you enter into a Black space, the only way for you to understand Black people is to release your comfortability. And I think sometimes that white people think that because we are trying to hold you accountable, that we are blaming you as a person. You know, and I think they try to make it a personal thing, like, oh, I'm not responsible for my ancestors. Nobody's fucking saying that. We're saying acknowledge that you are benefiting from a system that was built by your ancestors who were oppressing us, right? It's just the validation part of it. And I think sometimes because people don't want to be held accountable, they think that accountability is blame. And like I will find myself having the conversations with people and it's like, well, I didn't do that. And I'm like, yes, you did. You did that. Well, what you're trying to make it seem like I'm a bad person, and nobody fucking said that. I'm not saying that you're a bad. I am saying this and only this. You know, but people can't separate the two. You know, and so I found myself in a situation where I'm like talking to somebody and I have to explain to them that Black people have a different experience than white people, and you cannot come into a Black space and try to act like their experience isn't real just because it's not fun for you. Right? It's not fun for us, and we got to live in that shit. It's not fun. You're right. It's not fun. Right? So let's stop trying to act like it is fun, because that's spiritual bypassing. And so it's just like, I don't have a tolerance for anything. And it's just like, damn, it's like I wanted to get to this place. I wanted to be this person, to be able to operate from my truth. But then I constantly feel like I'm disrupting people's comfort. And it's just like, I can no longer be the person who just sits by just because it's convenient. It's not convenient for me anymore. It was never convenient for me. But now it's like I gotta say the thing even when it's inconvenient, And it sucks because I keep finding myself having these deeper conversations with people, but it's better than me walking away and ruminating in it for the next 10 days because I can't let it go because I have an obsessive personality. You know, I literally just made a video about this, period. Hey, Deja. Hey, Chewy. So it's just like the tolerance after healing, after integration be non-existent. Yes. And so like I'm just in this place where it's just like I've realigned my whole life around truth. And so I'm very sensitive when distortion enters my field. Like I'm very sensitive to it. And it's like I have to learn how to sit with it instead of flinching when it comes in my field, because it's like, because I work so hard to get myself to a place of self-regulation, when somebody comes in and dysregulates my motherfucking nervous system, I'm just like, no, immediately no, you know. But you can't be like that because these are people, you know, these are people, and everybody's not going to be where you are. And so that's why I'm in this place of trying to learn how to witness with compassion and understand both sides. But I think that it sucks sometimes when it's the condescending. Like that irritates the fuck out of me because I don't treat people poorly just to make myself feel better. You know, like, and so when I see people doing that, it's like, yeah, but you've just become the bully. Now you're just using your wounds as justification for doing back to people what they did to you. And then I'm just like, well, do you have that little awareness that you can't see that? And the answer is yes, because I remember being in that place where I was doing similar things. And now because I'm outside of it, I can't act like I never been there. So it's like I can understand it, but it's just, oh, it irks me so motherfucking bad. I be about to jump out of my skin. It's like, what's that Buddy Love off of Nutty Professor where he just be coming out and causing chaos, bitch? That's what I be about to do. And I be trying to stop myself because I'm so aligned with my truth right now, my mouth starts moving before my mind can catch up with it. And then I'm just like, Taja, like, damn, you didn't have to say that like that. But it's just like, immediately no. You know? And so I'm trying not to be that. I'm trying to learn how to respond instead of react to things that are now very obvious to me. You know? This is the step right before you start finding your tribe. You gotta get disgusted first. Well, no, I think I have a lot of people around me who are in alignment because I've been doing this work for a long time, but I just think it's layered, you know. And so this is stuff that I'm navigating with people who are like family and stuff like that. And I always feel like we think that healing or that freedom comes from separation. It does not. You know, like we are emotionally fragile as people. And what I mean by that is we don't know how to hold water. We don't know how to alchemize emotional energy. We don't know how to be in the presence of emotional energy without absorbing it. And so we think that the response is to flee or to just get rid of the people and get new people. And it's not that. It's okay for people to be at different places as long as those people are supporting you, seeing you, hearing you, and open up space for you to be yourself. You know, so yeah, you talking, girl, being a mirror is harder than people imagine, because you're right, you can be. Yeah, I think it is. And like the goal of being like, I think sometimes people think that mirroring other people is just giving them their shit back, and it's not that at all. Because when you mirror somebody, you have to transmute or transmit from a place of clarity, and clarity comes from truth, which means that you have to have healed from your wounds first. Otherwise, you're just projecting from an unhealed place, because when your mind is not tethered to your heart, it just projects an unprocessed trauma. And so you're moving based off of what you think is happening, not what's actually happening. And so you start to just project onto other people from this place of trying to protect yourself from feeling specific feelings. And so it's so complicated because I'm in this place of trying to make sure I'm a clear channel and making sure that I'm not operating from my wounds. But in me doing that, it's really hard because I'm still being triggered and stuff like that, because life is still happening even though you're in this place of trying to heal. You know what I'm saying? And again, I don't think that the answer for us is just to get new people. You know, I think that yes, there are some people you're going to have to leave behind because they refuse accountability. They're rejecting you or whatever the case may be, you know. But I think for certain people, having a conversation with them is good enough. And if you are stuck in your trauma, a lot of times we just assume people are going to misunderstand us because the people before them misunderstood us, and we don't even give them an opportunity or trust them with the emotional vulnerability to get us to a place of understanding. You know what I'm saying? Did that make sense? the bully, but you can also abuse yourself from over giving your teaching. Well, hold on, wait a second. Because you're right, you can't be the bully, but you can also abuse yourself from over giving, over teaching. Yeah, because it's not well. I also think, I think that's self abuse for sure, because I think a lot of people don't realize that people pleasing is manipulation and it's very transactional. And what I mean by that is like, when you overextending yourself and over giving, what you actually want in return is loyalty and love. And so you try to make it seem like you don't need anything, like, and so you end up being in a situation where you're giving, 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 and you're not receiving anything in return, because again, what you want is loyalty or love. And then when that person doesn't show it, you get upset and you just like, well, I did this for you or that for you, da, 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 da. The least you could fucking do is da, da, da. But it's like, well, you shouldn't have been doing that from a transactional place anyway, And so I think that that's self-abandonment to belong, and you seek an external validation through what you're doing. You're trying to prove that you're a good sister, you're a good wife, you're a good mother, you're a good whatever. And you're abusing yourself and abandoning yourself in the process. So I definitely agree with that. I think it's more about understanding what healthy authority as a woman, as a feminine being is. Right, I thought my sovereignty meant solitude. I did too, Erica. For a very long time, I thought the only way for me to feel safe was to isolate, because that's the only time that I felt safe. But then I started experiencing longing, and longing is a soul need, because we are here to grow and evolve together, whether we want to acknowledge that or not, which means that we need other people. Especially when you look at how your energy interacts from a human design standpoint, you need other people, right? And so I had to realize that true safety does not come from separation. It comes from you being able to speak up for yourself, you being able to tell people what your needs are, you being able to talk about your differences, you being able to understand that conflict is a natural part of relationship. Conflict is actually how you build closer bonds, and it's how you get to know yourself through other people. That's how you get to know what your needs are. That's how you get to explore who you are and what you need. You know what I'm saying? So you need conflict in relationships, but you need to learn how to communicate so that you can navigate conflict. In order for you to learn how to communicate, you need to learn how to feel, because you're only communicating your feelings, because your feelings help you to understand what you need, what you want, what you value, and so it all comes back to you learning how to feel again in a society that has disembodied you and told you that feeling is useless. It makes you weak. It makes you too sensitive, and all of that. But if you don't understand how you feel, you're not communicating from a place of understanding, right? Because we think that we need to figure something out in our head. You don't figure anything out in your head. Your head only loops in unprocessed trauma and past experiences. It's supposed to give you possibilities, but it's based in assumption. Whereas truth comes from feeling, because feeling is what provides you understanding in this reality. And that's why you need to marry your thoughts and your emotions need to align so you can take soul aligned action. You don't know how to take the appropriate action if you're not feeling, right? And so it took me a while to get there. But once I got there, I understood why. You can have everything that you want. You just need to make sure that you are aligning yourself with people who actually can give you what it is that you need and who have the capacity to receive you. Hey, Pache. Hold on. I done missed. Okay. It's so hard when you're a truthful person. I've learned most people don't want the truth. Yeah, I agree, Lily. What I've realized too is that I have a really high moral compass. And what I mean by that is like things like integrity are a non-negotiable for me. So if I see you acting one way in front of me and then you get around somebody else and you're completely different, I don't even know who the fuck you are. I have a problem with that, because then it means that I don't know who you are, because which version of you is real? You know what I'm saying? And so like things like integrity are like deal breakers for me. And people will feel some type of way about that. And it's like, well, I only treat men like this. And it's just like, yeah, but I would be a fool to think that I see that in you and that would never be turned against me. I would be a fool to think that I could see you doing that and think that I'm exempt from that. You know what I'm saying? And so integrity is really important to me. Like lying. Like I hate when I hear people on the phone lying to people. Like, why are you fucking lying? Ew, gross. And so I feel like there's certain values that I have, but I feel like I struggle in this reality because everybody is always towing this line of right and wrong or good and bad. And it's so many people who um they don't apply the same logic to the whole thing. Like there's exceptions, like where there's, for instance, when you have women who like are lying to a bunch of different men to get things, but then you think that they're gonna be an honest person to you in a relationship. It just doesn't fucking work that way, right? Because then like I'll see like women who are like that, who like lie to men and whatever. I will see them trying to manipulate me in small ways, and even if I see it just a little bit, I'm just like, no, bitch. See now, and so I think it's hard for me to find people who are truly aligned with me, because I think there's not a lot of people where I am, or maybe I have not run into enough people who are where I am. I'm starting to realize that there are people where I am. Let me take that back, because even like my timeline has changed on TikTok based off of what I'm giving permission to in my reality and what I'm entertaining. And I'm starting to realize there's a lot more people talking about what I'm talking about that I did not have awareness of before. It's just that I'm not aligned with those people yet. And so, well, I mean, I feel like I'm aligned with them. I just haven't ran across them yet, in real life. And so it's hard to find friendships. It's also hard to exist around people because people are inherently flawed. I think that we have been taught to be outside of ourselves for so long. We've been taught to prioritize illusion over truth, secrets over and silence over speaking up. And so I think it's so much more than just an individual issue. It's a societal issue. And I think that there has to be some compassion for that. And that's why I'm trying to learn how to be a compassionate witness instead of thinking that I need to fix or save or correct behavior, because it's not my job to fix them. They are here to learn whatever lessons they are here to learn. And I don't know what those lessons are. And so sometimes we arrogantly think that our way is the right way, and we are trying to help somebody when in turn we're just delaying the inevitable for them, because they were not our project to fix. We are the only project that we have here. Oh, gee, that was the word, transactional. My family member did this to me. Yeah, it is. And I think, as a former people pleaser, I did not realize that that was the case. And so I found myself overgiving, not needing anything. And then when somebody did something to me that I would have never did to them, it was just like, oh no, bitch. And I did this. And it's just like, no. If you did all those things, then it shouldn't. And I wouldn't say it to other people, but I would say it to myself. And that's still enough, for me to realize that it didn't come from a genuine place. It came from a place of me wanting love back in return, me wanting loyalty back in return. And so if I do all this shit for you, then you have to be loyal back to me. And then when you're not loyal back to me, then I feel some type of way when I was manipulating you the whole time. Right? Because that is manipulation. If you're doing something to get something, that's manipulation. If you're doing something so somebody can do whatever, manipulation, And so I think we don't be talking about this stuff honestly. We don't be talking about this stuff from a real place, and including ourselves in it. A lot of people want to separate themselves from the shit. No, I used to do that shit too, because that's society conditioned us to be that way. I don't think there's any shame in that. I think that once you elevate out of it, though, you have to talk about it honestly, and you have to give people perspective, because you live that perspective. You have the advice to give on that perspective. You know what I'm saying? That's where I am at now, longing. Yeah, and longing is a bitch. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, longing feels like somebody has a hold of your heart and is tugging it in a direction that you cannot see. It feels very hollow. Sometimes it feels like grief as well. So you feel it in your lungs, you feel it in your back, and it's just like something is stirring in you. And that comes from not being in connection with people, not being seen, because we came here to be witnessed, whether we want to acknowledge that or not. We came here to be witnessed. Eat it. Wait a second. That's not what I'm on. I'm thankful for biblical wisdom. I'm glad for the words that soothe my mindset, absolutely restore faith. That's why I always say I support whatever makes you a better person. Yeah, I agree. Like, I feel like everybody has their own path, and they're allowed to have their own path, Going through this currently, don't know if it's the gardening making me isolate or overthink or what. Yeah, what's crazy about that, Joyful, is I actually was talking to somebody earlier, and they had asked me, because I was telling them, like, I've been cooking, and I've been I cleaned my whole entire house. Like, I've been keeping my house up, like just everything, working out, like all the things that I feel like I used to do. And now I've been hanging out with my friends, stuff like that I feel like I was in isolation for a long time. But I'm like coming out of isolation in like isolated events and not like fully coming out. And so I was talking to her about that, and she asked me, she was like, when did you start feeling like this, again, like you needed to be in isolation or you were going downhill. And I was like, I noticed it was when I started smoking again. And when I started smoking, when I started smoking when I was 16, and it was the only thing that could really help me with my trauma at the time, because I was dealing with a lot of anxiety and I didn't really know what the fuck anxiety was, but I was definitely dealing with anxiety. I was really overwhelmed. I was deeply sad. And I had been living with it so long, it just felt like a normal part of me. And so when I started smoking and I started feeling happy and laughing until my fucking cheeks hurt, I'm like, oh, bitch, I need this on a regular schmegular, right? But then I think that because of that, my body associated smoking with me being in survival mode. And so when I started smoking again in September, because I hadn't smoked all year, but in September I started smoking, and I feel like it was because I knew Scorpio season was about to take me fucking under, and it did. It beat me the fuck up. But I was smoking that entire time, and I think that my field was like, oh, we're in survival mode again. And so I started feeling depressed again, and I wasn't in a depressed place. I didn't have anything to feel that way about. And so yeah, sometimes smoking can be an irritant, especially when you've elevated out of specific frequencies, because what weed is supposed to do is to help you to reach specific frequencies, especially if you in like a ritualistic practice or something like that and you're trying to hyper focus on something. Like, it's really good for that, but it's not supposed to be an everyday use type of thing. You need to use it with balance and moderation, and that's something that I'm learning. And so my field thought that I was depressed again because I was smoking again, and I had to rearrange that shit because I was just like, oh yeah, nah, hell no. We ain't going back to this, sister girl, you know? And so yesterday was the first day that I actually got up and I started posting, because I feel like I've created all these systems this year to kind of help us with like on our journey, and because there's a mass awakening that's happening in March of 2026, which is the third wave, which means the people who have kind of been left behind from like 2020, who didn't kind of go through that awakening during that time, they're going to start awakening in March of this year. And it's a lot of people, but it's not everybody. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of people are not going to wake up this time, but this is kind of like the last wave. And I've been creating all these systems to help people have a landing place. You know, I created the Soul School. The app drops January 16th. Right now, we in open enrollment. So if you haven't done the intake for that, please do. It's going to be an amazing experience. I'm going to teach you how to read energy, sense energy, feel energy, you know, and then also there's a teaching part to it, but a lot of it is energy work and healing circles and stuff like that, and showing you how to be in presence and how to witness each other without trying to help fix each other, you know, and help us to transcend, and also talk to ourselves kindly and shit like that as well. But then I also created the flame lineage readings, which is about you understanding what your soul's natural language is and what tones you like, what is tone within you, because you are a frequency. You are more than just a person. You are a frequency. You have a specific frequency that you came here to express, right? So I created those readings, but I also created the Oversoul Codex, which is basically walking you through how to balance out the elementals, right? This is air, right? Water, earth, right? But from a soul lens. Then the flame, and then the major arcana, which are major life events that everybody has to go through, the soul's journey, right? And so I created all these things, but I realized that I had not talked about them online if you're not in my live or nothing like that. And so I've been trying. Yesterday I got up and I was like, let me start acting like somebody who knows what the fuck I'm doing. And so I got up and I started posting about that, because I feel like this is something I really believe in. It's something that I feel like could really help people. And I was a person who didn't have any elders or have anybody who could actually help me through what I was going through. And I went through that shit by myself, and it was scary. It was hard, especially when the spiritual attacks and shit like that start happening, because I'm doing it on a public platform. I was taking people with me, which felt like I was being gang jumped on the other side, you know, but it gave me so much wisdom and understanding on how to navigate those things and what different spiritual attachments are and what they smell like and what they look like and what they do, that I was able to help other people, you know. So this week I really decided that I'm just going to fully embody who I am, you know, and just move from my truth and keep creating these systems and keep having these conversations, because I feel like a lot of people don't want to talk about the hard shit because they think it's uncomfortable. Like I was talking to somebody today and it was like, yeah, well, I feel like the work that you do is just so heavy. Like you need to make sure that you're creating and stuff like that. And I'm like, you're assuming that I'm not creating. I've created multiple systems this year. Not only that, I am an artist. You know, and so I paint, I play music, I do French every single night. I am on book 6 in a series right now that I can't like me being on live right now is crazy because I'm in the middle of a book. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, you can't let people project onto you. moral of the fucking story. You can't let people project onto you. But yeah, I forgot why I started talking about that. But yeah, I think sometimes weed can cause you to overthink. It could cause you especially if you're already past the frequency that specific strand is supposed to help you to reach. It just brings you down. You know what I'm saying? And not only that, if you're getting it from the government, they put anxiety inducing hormones in it, and things that make you depressed, sad, and anxious. And so don't say I ain't never told you nothing. Girl, my feet are tingling. Oh, your soul is in your feet. That's where it enters and exits the body in your heels. Speaking the true facts, integrity has to be there. Yeah, and I think people don't understand how important something like integrity is. It's your character as a person. It's your character as a person. And so if you putting up this facade, and it also makes me feel like that you want to be a friends with somebody like me so that people can think that you're somebody like me, and you're not. And I be seeing that in the way that some certain people be having conversations about me, and it's like, oh, you admire me, oh yeah, this is my friend and she does this, and then I hear them on the phone with the person and they basically are describing me as being them, and it's a whole motherfucker lie. And I'm just like, now I'm questioning whether or not you're my friend. And that's why I feel like you got to figure out what your truth is, what's important to you, and move based off that truth, even if other people don't understand it, because that's a big thing for me, because then I don't feel like it's genuine. I think you're keeping me around because you're trying to put up an image or uphold an image of who you are as a person, because when people actually see you for who you are, they don't like it. And instead of changing, you were still trying to, it's kind of like, I don't know if y'all seen that interview that Charlamagne just did with Angela Martinez. Love me some Angie. But Angie asked him, like, if Diddy got out today, would you do an interview with him? And Charlamagne was like, no, I feel like I wouldn't, because he's still in this place of trying to protect his image and fix his image instead of taking accountability and acknowledging what he has done, because I think intent and impact are different things, and you may not have intended, you may have been trying to change hip hop and you was doing it the way that you was taught to do it, but it does not mean that your impact on other people was not detrimental to those people. You know what I'm saying? So Charlamagne was like, I don't think that it would be beneficial at this time, because it's not that he's trying to take accountability. He is trying to create a specific image of himself. And I was like, yeah, that's narcissism. Narcissists care about their reputation and how people are perceiving them, but they actually don't want to do the work behind the scenes to be anything different than they are, because they don't want to get uncomfortable. They don't want to acknowledge that they have done harm, and so they bypass it, which I think a lot of men in this society can do, because the system is set up to protect their comfort, just like it's set up to protect white people's comfort. And so that allows them to be able to bypass. And I made a video about this last week, because people don't understand that privilege has always been a shield for bypassing. And when you have privilege, you don't have to worry about the impact of the system, because you're not affected by it. Right. And so you can easily say that oppressed people are being dramatic and oppressed people are whatever, because you're stealing all the resources. And so, of course, you can say that from up there, Anyway, this is my jam. But so how do you protect yourself from these energies that operate this way besides isolation? Speaking up for yourself, setting healthy boundaries, telling people what you need, removing yourself when it's time to remove yourself. That's it. When I tell people that, people always tell me, people always are looking for something else. And let me tell you why. It's because in society, we have been taught that we have to do the most to gain things. We have to do the most to prove our worth. You don't. People will come to me and be like, hey, I'm experiencing this. And I'm like, oh, that's melancholy. This is what you need to do. And my prescription is rest. And then they hit me back and they're just like, well, I'm like sitting with myself, but and I'm having all these thoughts. And I'm like, okay, well, journal. Well, then I need to, no. Feminine energy is stillness. Feminine energy is rest. Feminine energy is speaking up for yourself and operating from truth, which means that you have to be feeling, right? But we feel so uncomfortable in that because we only know how to go, right? So it's just that. It's literally just speaking up for yourself. That's it. And if it's not received, that's fine. You don't need to convince, you don't need to prove, you don't need to make people understand you. Move accordingly. You know, one thing that I tell people all the time, especially if you've done human design with me, is that if you're a generator or you're a projector, you need to be asking yourself, is this person venting or do they want my opinion? And if you don't know, ask them. If they're just venting, you just there to love and support them. You're creating space for them to navigate whatever they're navigating, and you're just patting them on the back, you handing them some tissues, and you giving them some water. But you're not giving an opinion, or you're not getting overly invested, because it's not a person who's willing to change if they just venting. If they ask for your opinion, you give the opinion, but you need to get in the seat of the witness immediately after. Not the fixer, not the prover, not the convincer, right? You get into the seat of the witness. Pay attention to how they respond to what you say. If they are open, they asking questions, it seems like they value your opinion. It seems like they're about to change. You leave their conversation, feel good. Yeah, that's the person who wants to change. But if they reject you, they get defensive, they make every single excuse underneath the book, and all of a sudden y'all in an argument, or this is your third time telling them the same motherfucking thing, that is not a person who's willing to change. You have to realize, oh, this person is not willing to change, and don't take it personal, because we be thinking that means they rejecting us. No, they not. They rejecting change, baby. And change is hard in a society that's conditioned you to stay the same. And so you have to come from the higher perspective and say, oh, that's a person who's not willing to change. If I continue on with this conversation, I'm beating a dead horse. And once a horse is dead, it don't matter how many times you hit that horse after it. It cannot feel it. It can't feel it. It's going through one ear and out the other. And so you got to realize that. You got to say, okay, this person isn't willing to change. Put your lippy in a zippy, move in a different direction. What I like to say, oh, okay, well, it seems like you got to figure it out. No problem. And I'm just moving a different direction. And I don't mean that in a passive aggressive way. I mean that in a, okay, well, I mean, it seems like you already know what you should do. You the expert on your life. Because unconditional love is allowing people to make the choices that are best suited for them without your interruption. Because you understand that they own their own journey. They got their own path. They have designed this before they got here. They already designed this perfect for themselves. And so if you asking me, it's because you want an outside opinion, but it does not mean that you have to take my advice. It does not mean you have to take my opinion. The only responsibility I have is to give you truth, and what you do with that truth is none of my business. But our problem be that we be trying to fix people's problems for them. I was talking to a client the other day, and the client was like, well, how do you stay in alignment and not seem like you're doing too much? And I was like, well, what do you mean? And the person explained a situation where one of her siblings was going through something with a partner, and she kept jumping into the argument because she feel like her sister don't take up for herself. And I was like, yeah, but that's not your place though. And so she's supposed to be speaking up for herself. And if she's not speaking up for herself, then unfortunately, there's nothing you can do about that. You're going to have to continuously find yourself in a position where you have to speak up for her if she does not choose to do it for herself. And that's where we get entangled in other people's mess. We feel like, oh, well, this is my family, or whatever the case may be. But you came here to witness. You didn't come here to fix, save, and heal people. Until she wants something different, she's going to stay in that position. So it's almost like, you know how when you have a friend who dealing with somebody who's toxic, and they call you on the phone like, oh my gosh, this man just put his hands on me, come get me, da-da-da. You go over there, you put hands and feet on him, you back up all her shit, you take her to your crib, and then she'll back over there the next week, and it feel like a slap in your face. But it's because it was never your job to go save her. Yes, you can show up. Yes, you can, whatever, but you don't get involved in something that is not yours to get involved in. And I think we struggle because we don't know how to disentangle ourselves in our relationships, because we think that's us being loyal. We think that's us showing up for them. But then you end up in motherfucking jail, and she back over there the next week. And now you feel like, well, you're not truly my friend. It was never your weight to carry. It was hers. Until she decides to make a different decision, you're always going to be in a position where you're fighting her battles. And that's where you start leaking energy. And I'm talking about this from an energetic standpoint, because I'm a Taurus. I throw down for my motherfucking friend. I'm the type of friend where you got to coach me into being nice to this motherfucker before he comes over, because I never played. But then I had to realize that's not my place. I'm creating tension in other people's relationships. I'm making it worse for this person when it's not even my situation. Until they want to do something different, is nothing that I can do. Until they ask for my help, is nothing that I can do. I spent my whole life trying to fix, save, and heal people. And I spent my whole life being frustrated. I spent my whole life leaking energy, feeling understood, misunderstood, unseen, unheard. But it was because I thought my way was the right way, and I was trying to force people to do it my way. That's the arrogant assumption that we have as humans, is that our way, just because it worked for us, it's going to work for them. You don't know what their lessons are. You don't know what their experiences are. You don't even know what their wisdom level is. You don't even know what consciousness level this person is operating on. Because we think because we standing next to each other that we all at the same place. That is not true. It is not true. We are all in different places of consciousness. We are all at different areas. And we're all here for different reasons. And so you can't expect somebody to be like you, or you can't expect somebody to do it your way, even if your way works. Until they are ready to change, there's nothing you're going to be able to do about that. And so that means that you're going to have to witness people that you love doing things that are out of alignment with themselves, and you're going to have to bite your motherfucking tongue. Because the consequence of you jumping in is you leaking your energy. Now you out of alignment with them. Why? You're a lighthouse. You shine your light and the boats come towards you. The lighthouse don't come up off that shore, swim through that water and be like, hey, over here, this is the way, and risk drowning. It doesn't. It maintains its position. It maintains its frequency. And if somebody needs help, it comes to the lighthouse. Somebody wants to come to the shore, it comes to the lighthouse. But the lighthouse don't jump up in them choppy ass waters, you know? And I had to learn that the hard way, you know? Trauma taught how to be a master of manipulation. Yes, I think a lot of people who have been at the other end of trauma have learned, because if you're oppressed people, nobody understands the people that are oppressing you better than you. Period. And that's why Black people understand white people to a motherfucking T, because we have to know in order for us to stay alive. Us knowing who you are is important to us because we only can survive if we understand you, right? And so some people who have experienced trauma become they manipulators. They become the person that was traumatizing them. They are re-traumatizing other people, but they think because they're doing it in a different font that that's not what it is. Right? So yeah, I agree. I just learned this in the past 2 years. I did stop smoking. I mean, I smoked last night for a ritual, and when I say ritual, I just needed to get into my body so I could move energy. Because we ritualistic people, meaning like we learn by repetition. But yeah, no, I stopped smoking again at the beginning of December. And so yeah, I don't even keep it in my house no more because I'm not to be trusted, you know? So do we have to stop smoking to reach our full spiritual connection? No, you don't. I just think that you have to, it's a harder battle. And the reason why I say it's a harder, 144 on the clock, 144,000 on the clock. It's a harder battle. And the reason why it's a harder battle is because we don't realize that when you start smoking, you are entering into the spiritual realm. And when you're on a spiritual journey, you're emitting soul light. And so it's kind of like your light has turned on in the middle of the darkness. And so you attract all these gnats and all these parasites and all these energies that are trying to find a host, right? Or to try to cling on to people. And so you are more susceptible to getting an attachment when you are underneath drugs. And that's why sometimes people go through surgery and they come back with a spiritual attachment. And it's because you were in a lucid, unconscious state and something is able to attach itself to you, right? And so I think it's a little bit harder if you're not super aware of your energy and you don't know how to energetically protect yourself. If you're not sitting on your throne and you haven't already remembered who you are, it's going to be a lot harder for you to navigate. And also too, it just opens up, like when you're smoking it instead of eating it, you know, that's your throat portal. So you opening up this portal where things like to attach. And so, no, I don't think that you can't reach your full spiritual connection. I don't think that's true, but I think that it's just a little bit of a harder journey, and you can attract negative, stagnant, dirty energy because you are a portal, which means that energy has to move through you regardless whether or not it stays in your body. Instead of moving straight through you is contingent upon your capacity to feel and to meaning like the ego tries to protect you from feeling certain things, right? But when you are not afraid of feeling things and you can sit with emotions and identify them properly and understand what they're telling you, then that energy just can move through you, you know? And so if you're in a stagnant place, then this negative energy can as it moves through you, can attach to other stagnant energy, but that's the only energy it can attach to. So if you're a clear channel, it doesn't matter if the energy is negative or positive, it's going to move through you anyway. But when you have stagnation or dis-ease in your energy, it just hangs on to that energy. My dad is calling me. Well, he was supposed to call me yesterday. Anyways, can y'all hear me on TikTok? And can y'all hear me on TikTok? I'm sorry. Oh hell no. Okay. I think I need to take a long break too. Yeah, I took a break. Okay. Thank y'all. I'm sorry. Yeah, I took a break from January to September. But I think I knew, like on a subconscious level, I knew that Scorpio season was about to eat me alive. And it did. I learned some of my best lessons this Scorpio season, but geez, it sucked. It sucked real bad. But I'm seeing things more clearly though, like in real time. Like I think that I am in this place to where I can respond without reacting. Meaning like I can feel an emotion, identify an emotion, and it moves through me way quicker than most people. An emotion is only supposed to last 19 seconds. And if it lasts more than 19 seconds, it's because you've attached it to a memory. And you're probably trying to protect yourself from feeling it because it's probably a negative association, not a happy association, because we tend to operate out of the negative in this society, And so I forgot what I was about to say. I need to take a long break. That's what you said. What was I about to say? Anyways, it's gone. I genuinely think smoking has a season. I only crave it through the fall, winter months. Yes. Oh yeah. No, I knew Scorpio season was about to tear me up, and it did. Like it was really hard, but I feel like I learned so much about myself. I learned so much about my relationships because Scorpio went through Venus. I learned a lot. Like, and Scorpio is an energy it's emotionally intense, but it's the energy of depth, right? And so that's where you can actually fully feel, and that's why it's emotionally intense because it intensifies emotions. And I have a Scorpio moon, and so I think that it was just really revealing when it came to my relationships and how I was showing up in relationships. And it just was helpful in like reorganizing myself around my truth, learning how to speak up even when it's hard, even when it comes to people that I love. Because I feel like a bitch off the street, she's no match for me. But when it comes to my mom and my brother, I am probably going to crumble because I don't want to hurt them, or I don't want to be the one who is always bringing up the hard shit because nobody wants to talk about it, And sometimes they treat you like the enemy when the truth is involved, because we live in a reality full of illusion, which creates this idea that people are have this comfort that they don't have. They just are really good at compartmentalizing. I started my relationship with self with smoking and haven't stopped. It's been like 4 to 5 years. Yeah. I don't think you have to. I just think everything in moderation. And I think that there's still a way for you to achieve, because we be thinking that you go on a spiritual journey, you need to eat right, you need to stop smoking, you need to, but all of those separate things are just pegs, like you could still eat meat and get a high spiritual connection because it's only like a small portion of that, you know what I'm saying? But we be thinking it's the whole thing, and it's not, like it doesn't require perfection, but we live in a society that pushes us towards perfection. So we think we have to be perfect. In spirituality, you don't. Like people who become spiritual and they change everything about themselves. Like all of a sudden they a boho goddess, and it's just like you didn't have to be that, sister. you didn't have to do that. Or like all of a sudden they wearing like thick ankh chains and copper. To each his own. But you don't have to do that. It's not a performance. You know what I'm saying? It's in who you are as a person. And so if you want to cuss, shit, damn, fuck, bitch, you can do that. You can do that. You just need to change your intention behind the frequency of the word. You know what I'm saying? So, but I do want to stop because I do think it keeps me attached to certain versions of myself. Yeah, me too. That's what I was realizing. It keeps me attached to that depressed little girl who just needed an outlet. And so now when I smoke, if I'm going to smoke, I set my intentions. I say exactly what I want the session to be about. I light a candle and I kind of do it that way. I spend a lot of time journaling or working in the midst of my high, and I try not to pick up my phone, because I pick up my phone and people just energy be coming at me, and I'm just like, oh, please go away. I think I have a fear of who I can become without clarity. I think we all do, baby. And I think that's real and it's honest. And thank you for being transparent within that. I think we need more of that in this reality, is people being able to be emotionally vulnerable about their truth. I think it's common to fear the unknown. And I think it's common to fear your success too, if you've never been successful, you know, according to your standards. Let me just say that, because everybody's been successful at something. But I think I was telling y'all at the beginning of this live that, like, for like 2-3 weeks, I was just kind of stuck in this place of where nothing was moving, and I just was kind of waiting around for something to happen. But I think that was me having this fear of failure when it came to my gifts. And like yesterday, I sat in meditation and I just was saying, like, I'm ready now. And I can't tell you how much energy started releasing in my back and my body, And so I was like, damn, I keep trying to be perfect. I just keep trying to be ready. I'm ready already. I don't need to be perfect in it. I just need to try. And slow progress is progress. You know what I'm saying? So we just got to reprogram ourselves and recondition ourselves a bit. I did the intake, but I never received anything. Let me look, because I sent out letters, but for the new people, I haven't done anything because I'm technically off this week. Wait. I'm organized in. Who is that? Asia? No, Aria. I don't think I received your intake, love. Hold on, let me look at my call sheet real quick. What name did you do it underneath? Yeah, I don't have that name. Oh, you thought me something about them strain levels. That makes so much sense. Yeah, lost a 20-year friendship over that. They be hating on the low. Yes, me too, girl. Like, we forgot what he said. Yeah, I think I just always let go. I speak up for myself. Okay, that's what I ask now, especially with family. I'm sorry, y'all. Misunderstood all my life. Yeah, but I think sometimes we be thinking that we came here to be understood, and we didn't. We didn't come here to be understood. We came here to understand ourselves. And so we spend so much of our life trying to get other people to understand us, when that was never the goal. The goal was for you to understand yourself. And regardless of how people perceive or receive you, you standing in your truth. Because you got to know your value outside of external validation, And so it's never been about other people. It's only ever been about you. Oops, we be trying to end the shit of them and their mind and reconciliation, blah, 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 blah. Did you ever start Steven's Universe? I did not. Oh, Vanessa. So yeah, I sent you an email, my love. It went out 2 Fridays ago. It's flamespiral.help@gmail.com. I'm wondering if it went to a lot of people's spam, because it was coming from a Gmail. But I sent it out a couple Fridays, and I only got a couple people who responded, and I think I sent out probably 70 something emails. And so you need to check your spam. I did receive your intake, Shay. But I didn't know. Are you signing up for the scholarship, Shay? Because if you are, then I haven't reached out to scholarship people yet. Hey, Auntie Peach. Especially with the internet, I'll definitely take a break though. Yeah, and I feel like, at your own pace, when it comes to the smoking thing, because I'm not gonna lie, smoking really helped me on my spiritual journey, especially in the beginning, because I was able to learn how to meditate, because I could really focus and concentrate my energy. And so, like, I'm never gonna be the type of person who is just like, you need to quit it all and become righteous. Like, it does not work that way, anyways, because it's not about perfection or performance. It's about, as long as you have the right intentions. When they say God knows your heart, that's a real thing. Like, if you are moving from your heart and from your truth, all the other shit don't matter. Oh, okay, yeah. So I'll send you an email, Shay, here shortly. I have ashes and it helps me focus. Yeah, like I feel like I'm a upper type of person, and so like I am way more productive when I'm smoking. I could take on the army. Like I legitimately could do anything. Like if I'm struggling to clean or something, all of a sudden I'm running around this bitch and this bitch is spick and span. I'm cleaning behind shit that the professionals ain't even doing. So I'm never gonna be like that. And again, like I said, that's only a small fraction. As long as you do things with intention, it don't matter what you do. Like people are like, oh yeah, but you're drinking out of plastic bottles. Yeah, but if you speak your intention into the water, because the water is a living intelligence, when it goes into your body, it's gonna talk to the other living intelligence in your body. I put fulvic acid and trace minerals in my water so you can see fulvic acid and trace minerals. Okay. But sometimes I'll drop in molecular hydrogen, to increase the cellular activity within my body because I got those as well. And so there's multiple ways to skin a cat. You don't got to do it just one way. There's multiple ways to skin a cat. You know what I'm saying? I love being in the right places. I always pray over my joints. Yeah, I pray over all my stuff. Pray, manifest, and set intentions, whatever you want to call it. You need to do everything with intention because you are the creator. And so as long as you make sure there's no confusion around what you're intending to do, everything falls into alignment. Hey, Coca. And so do you know anything I can put in my water that can help Graves' disease? No, what's that? Thyroid? I would be doing energy work on your throat chakra because and your upper heart chakra. Good channels are meditate. Like if you want to do it on YouTube, like sound frequency, good channel is meditative mind and chakra vibrations. But I feel like that's a throat chakra. Oh, overactive thyroid. Yeah. So that's a throat chakra problem. Do you have an issue with speaking up? Or are you over speaking up? Like emotionally reactive? Because yeah. So you got to move the energy in your throat chakra. Oh, thank you, Coca. Because every dis-ease, yeah, okay, that would make sense. Every dis-ease in the body is a dis-ease in energy. And what happens is that the energy, when you suppress it and you don't speak up, it gets stuck here. And then it keeps building up every time that you do that, until it becomes a physical manifestation. Because everything starts in the spirit first before it comes into the physical realm. And so thyroid issues is a problem with speaking up. So you got to learn how to speak up. You got to do some healing on that specific chakra, which you probably have like a knot at the back of your neck. But you have to do some energy healing with that specific chakra. But it's probably not just that chakra. If it's super, super concentrated in your throat, it's probably super concentrated in all of it. And so I would be doing some sound therapy because what we don't realize is that sound frequency helps us, because sound frequency is the universe. The universe is sound, right? That's what the feminine energy is sound. And so we react to sound frequency because we are frequency ourselves. And so if you put on a sound frequency, you're matching that frequency. Eventually you'll be in coherence with that frequency the longer that you stay in it. Ouch, that's tight. So yeah, it has to do with the chakra itself, but you can also take iodine, like they said, and other minerals. Shilajit is really good. Black seed oil is really good. Yes, heart. I listen to frequencies and cleanse and meditate. Just started shadow work. Okay, good. Hey, Tyra. Ouch. Sorry, sometimes I get in y'all energy. You're welcome, love. But yeah. So if you haven't received your response email yet, because you should have, like if y'all applied for Soul School 2 Fridays ago, I sent it, but there's some people who just recently applied. So I haven't got around to sending those new emails for people yet. But this week is my off week. I had everybody just take off for the holidays because people was calling to rearrange and to move around. I don't got time. Everybody go home and I'll see y'all later. So I'm not working again until next week. So I'll respond to y'all then. I noticed when I spoke, I picked up on energies like crazy. Yeah, I'm always channeling. It's just like who I am as a person. But I don't channel people though. And what I mean like that is like if you're telling me a story, I'm so present within your energy that I start to pick up on stuff. But if you're not talking to me about something, I'm not just reading people. People assume because I'm a medium that I just know. And so they'll call me and they'll be like, oh, I just know that you knew this thing. And I'm like, no, nope, I wasn't thinking about your sister, but it wasn't a bad thing. It's just like, it doesn't work like that. And I'm an ethical medium, meaning like, I'm not about to just read somebody without their permission. I think that's so unethical. And so like sometimes I get clients who are like, can you tell me what her boyfriend is thinking? No, ask them, so yeah. But I just wanted to hop on here, y'all, to tell y'all about what I was experiencing because the truth sensitivity thing is a real issue for me right now. And I'm trying to figure out how to balance that because I think that we be thinking that the solution to everything is separation. We just need to stop talking to the people. We don't need to have a conversation because they just don't act like everybody else act without giving them the, trust and emotional vulnerability to give them an opportunity to be accountable. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm just in a different place and it's a good place, like I'm finally in alignment, which feels good. But now I have to learn how to stay in alignment now that I've reached this place of inner truth and I'm responding from my truth. And I actually kind of like it. I'm not gonna lie. Like I'm really impressed with the thing, like how I feel about things. Whereas before I feel like I just would stay silent and I never really explored how I felt about things. I just would know that I didn't like it, but I wouldn't understand why. And through me, like having these new experiences and moving from this place of truth, I'm actually sitting with the emotions in real time. And so like in real time, I'm starting to figure out why I don't like what they're saying or why I'm having an adverse reaction to it. And most of the time it has to do with spiritual bypassing, manipulation, ego, superiority, gross, all horrible things. But now I'm actually able to communicate them in real time because I've done the work of sitting with the emotions and being able to name them like effectively in the moment, And so with Soul School, I'm going to be trying to help people do that same thing, which I'm excited about. And I also been doing a lot more human design readings lately. And I really love the system that I created because now I'm looking at it as a frequency. Like this is a frequency that is affecting you in this specific area of your life. Like these 4 frequencies are something you need to embody in order for you to be in alignment with your oversoul path. I'm starting to realize that when it comes to people's definition in human design, it's how much you need to integrate before you can come into community with other people. And so some of us who in the beginning part of our lives, we don't realize why we're not in relationships and why relationships are easier for other people or why we don't have friends and stuff like that. And it's because you haven't done enough integration yet to be able to pull those things into your life. And so it's just interesting. I think I'm looking at the world in such a different place that it's just shaping the way that I show up, even in the stuff that I'm already doing, which I really fucking love. Like doing human design readings or doing sacred parent codes and stuff like that. I feel like I've just shifted in a very beautiful way. So I've been told that I need to work as a medium. Where does one start? Um, you don't need a license or anything for mediumship. You just start. You just start taking clients. I went to a mediumship mentorship, but literally she just called people on the phone and would have me read them. And so I feel like you can do that by yourself. You know, I am going to be teaching that in the second year of Soul School. So if you want to join the Soul School, that's a thing too. Because how the Soul School works is like it's a 9-month cycle, and so from April into December you'll be in school twice a week, and there is every week is a teaching course. I'm in a teaching class, and then it's going to switch between healing circle and energetic work. And then you're going to go from not April, March 22nd, which is the summer solstice, until December 22nd, which is the winter, so the winter equinox, right? And so that's a 9-month cycle. Then you get 3 months off, and during that 3 months you'll still be able to come into the school and sit in presence, which is what we're going to start in January this year, you know, and sit in presence. And then the next cycle, which is going to be intermediate, is going to start March 22nd of that next year, and then you can go all the way through to advance. But in that first year, it's about energy awareness and consciousness from a basic level. And then intermediate is when you start actually learning how to read, which in the first year you do, but you got to do more somatic work, making sure that your body is safe, making sure that your nervous system is regulated, that type of thing. Second year is more about learning how to read and stuff like that. And the third year is like advanced. And so, in that second year, I also teach you it from a technical standpoint. So like you learn astrology and human design and stuff like that, because that is actually how you understand energy from like an intellectual side. But the first year is about intuition, you know, and so like feeling before you intellectualize, because that's how you're supposed to be using it. Anyways, it's intuition before information, because intuition takes precedence. It's the vastness before the mundane, the structured, you know. And so then the advanced is going to be like taking that a step further. How do you now lead from a place like that on a collective level? How do you show up in leadership from that, and things like that? And then I also have a priestess path. And in the priestess path, those are going to be the people helping within the school and stuff like that. And those people are going through like more psychic development, but those are people who have already done mentorship with me and already done psychic development with me on a different level. This is just deeper than what they already know. Many awakened are using their gifts to help many. I love it. Natural woman's work. Oh, thank you, love. Hi, Mel. I really, what you're speaking on resonates with me. Self-control is a huge part of self-awareness, recognizing more than many angles. Yes. Yep. The nuance and situations for sure. So yeah, no, you just start. You just need to, I would start doing free readings, Tara, if you can, like just get on live and tell people that you are just starting in being a psychic medium, and you just want to see what you can pick up on. But also understand that you have to be in a good place in order for your own projections and traumas not to bleed into other people. And so learning how to get into a receptive state, learning how to not be in this place of fixing, saving, healing, so that you're not taking on other people's energy or other people's attachments, because some people will come to you and they'll have attachments, because a lot of people who come to mediums or psychics are in a place of them not being able to figure it out for themselves, or them being in a place of I hate to say desperation, but that's really what the word is. Are you talking about your school community today? Yeah. So the soul school is what I was just talking about, the 9-month cycle, 3 months off, and then 2 sessions a week, 3 weeks on, 1 week off each month. And so the intake is on my website, www.bigtajj.com. So Big Taj with 2 J's.com. And then on the first page underneath my picture, it says Soul School. Click on that, and that's the intake. Precisely, to think open-minded and sometimes unbiased. Yeah. So yeah, so I'm excited about all the stuff that I've been doing, and just my new perspective on life, and just where I am with human design and where I am with anatomy. And like now that I'm in a place where I'm going to be teaching people that from the soul perspective, and teaching people based off of oversoul embodiment, because I think a lot of times we use those tools for personality tools, or to predict events. And like, yes, they're good for that, but they also give you the celestial map to your awakening. They tell you when things are going to happen. And so you don't need to know it on a collective level. You need to know it for yourself, because it's going to tell you when you start going through things, and you're going to understand why you're feeling how you're feeling, you know? And so you need to track the progress of planetary movement, because it directly impacts you. It directly affects you, right? And it tells you again, like, when things are happening. And then human design is telling you your energetic blueprint, is telling you your energetic structure. And so it's how energy moves through your body, where you need to anchor in your truth, and where you actually transmute for the collective. And if you don't understand that, you'll think all the energy that you feel in belongs to you, when some of it is, you don't understand where it's coming from, because it's not coming from you. It's coming from the collective's energy, and you're meant to recode it. You're meant to sit with it, transmute it, and then recode it. And so, like, there's certain areas in your chart which are about refinement and alchemy, and then there's other areas where you need to trust yourself, you know? And so, like, understanding your energetic structure is how you get energetic sovereignty without closing off your heart space. Because a lot of us just think that we need to close, we need to harden, we need to isolate, and that's the opposite of what you're supposed to be doing. If you don't understand yourself as energy, you don't know how to properly stay in alignment without separating yourself from other people. You know, whether you do that energetically by closing off your heart, or physically, you know? And so a lot of the services that I offer right now are geared around that, but I've completely changed human design. So if you got human design reading from me before this year, that's the material side of things and how that works in the material realm. But I've recoded it to be more soul encoded, because I think that's more beneficial for us to look at ourselves from a soul level, because that is our truth, you know? And so I've started, you know, going into depth with people's oversoul missions and what they're actually here to do, telling them what frequencies they need to embody in order for them to get there. But then I also talk about, you know, what you came here to contribute on a subconscious level, on a conscious level. Like, I'm doing it that way, instead of, you know, starting at the top of your head and just working my way down. I'm making it very simple, very whatever. But I will say that the readings are taking me longer. Most people's readings are like 2.5 hours to 3 hours. And then if it's a kid, sometimes it's like 3 to 4 hours. So I've been breaking them down. But it's so that I can give y'all more information. And astrology told me it's about pattern recognition, but I'm not fully connected to that idea. Yeah, because I think that people think that astrology is not a science. It is absolutely a science, you know? And so, like, it's not whether or not you believe in astrology or not. It still exists whether or not you believe in it, you know? And so astrology is about pattern recognition. But not only that, the energy of the planets exists inside of you in your chakra system, in your etheric body, because you have multiple bodies, not just the body you can see. And so if you don't understand the energy of the planets, you don't understand yourself, you know? And so, like, astrology is one of the oldest sciences around. It's been around for 400,000 years. It dates back to ancient Chaldea. But the problem is that it was outlawed and it was deemed as witchcraft because it was the old world. And so when they came about with this Christianity, right, and the monotheistic God, you're only supposed to believe in one God, because before they believed in multiple, up to 100, right? Because they wanted to transition people to only believing in one God, one person outside of themselves. Tarot, which is just the tree of life, by the way, it's just telling you the soul's journey through the body, but they had to make it into a tarot deck because they wanted to hide esoteric knowledge in modern form. But astrology as well. They outlawed it as witchcraft. But what's crazy about that is that they have astrologists on their staff. And being an astrologist back in the day used to be really hard, because they would just kill them anytime they would tell them something they didn't agree with. But JP Morgan used to carry around a astrology clock. He always knew where the stars was in the sky, because they use astrology, but they don't want you to use astrology. Because if you actually started moving with the energy, you wouldn't be disembodied and you wouldn't be easy to control. Right? And so everything that they've done, even with the Gregorian calendar, was meant to disembody you from Earth's natural flow of energy. You know? And so the stock market, astrology. You need to understand astrology to even do the stock market. Right? You need to know astrology to even do the stock market. Why is that? Because billionaires use it. They just don't want you to use it. You know? Our calendars are all wrong. Technically, the new year starts in September. Most people think it's March, April at the spring equinox. It's not. That's the start of the masculine cycle. And so patriarchy wants you to believe that. but everything always starts with the feminine cycle. It always starts from the dark before it becomes light. And so it actually is in September, and the day starts at 6 p.m., not 12 a.m. It starts at 6 p.m. when the night starts. So it's all backwards. It's all inverted because it's meant to disembody you, right? We don't understand that autumn and winter are the feminine cycle, right? That's when you are falling the most asleep. That is when you are integrating. And then you have April to Libra season, which is September, which is the masculine cycle. That's when you actually have energy to get things done. That's when you're starting to come alive, right? And so the clock is organized around that too, because we don't understand that the Bible is organized around the sun. The Bible is talking about God in the sky, Jesus in the sky, the Son of God, which is the sun, because they had to organize their whole life around the sun and around the day and night cycle. And so every holiday kind of follows that. The time, the compass, everything is following the same thing. But that's a story for another day. I digress. So the Ethiopian calendar is the only calendar that actually still follows the way that the calendar is supposed to be. And they skipped us ahead 1,000 years with Constantine, because Constantine said, yeah, we got the date wrong when the prophecy didn't come true in the Bible. You know what? I'm not even going to go there with y'all, because it gets way deeper. It gets way deeper than just that. But what I'm saying is that astrology is a science. It is not a hypothetical thing that you can believe in or not believe in. It is a science, And so if you don't understand astrology, you do not understand yourself as energy, because you are the universe. The planets are just the chakras of the universe that we live in, right? As above, so below. So the chakras in our body are the same as the planets in the sky. And they're the energy portals and densities of consciousness that we move through, right? They're the densities of consciousness that you are moving through. And so you must embody certain energies at specific times. And you're constantly moving through these energetic cycles to deepen your truth, because we're learning in a spiral. So I hate that astrology gets the rap that it does, because billionaires and the people who were meant to control you never stopped using astrology. They never stopped using astrology. They only told you it was witchcraft, like they told you that your power is witchcraft. And when you use herbs from the earth and you use Earth's Kundalini energy to manifest in your benefit, they told you that was witchcraft because it disembodies you from yourself. And now you need to rely on something outside of you to tell you what's the truth. Now you need to rely on something outside of you to tell you what's right. Sorry, I turn into a preacher sometimes. I don't mean to, but it does something to my insides because I've studied this extensively, and I wish that more of us would. Instead of just taking people's word for it, look into it ourselves, because then you just regurgitating what people have told you. Thank you, my love. And I don't say that from like a diminishing place, because I think each one teach one. We have to allow ourselves to look at things differently. And so I'm saying this from a place of love and compassion always. They need you in a disembodied state so that you're easy to control. I was literally about to ask, is it my ego that wants to master these teachings myself? Well, ego gives you, no, not necessarily. So let me explain this too. So ego, inner child, and your mind are all housed in your solar plexus. And so they're three different voices, but they're kind of trying to accomplish the same thing. And that's to come up with a strategy to protect you from having to experience experiences that you don't like. right? All three of those things do that. And so ego, when it's actually in its aligned state, is supposed to give you audacity and confidence to go after what you actually want. It's the part of you that knows how to direct your will, and it knows, you know, how to guide yourself and direct yourself and make conscious aligned decisions, right? But when it's in the shadow side and you've been hurt and you've been traumatized and you haven't been taught how to process that, your ego takes control of the car. And your ego doesn't necessarily care about you being happy. It only cares that you survive to see the next day. And so it loops you in unprocessed trauma and previous experiences, and it makes you move based off those experiences because you fear feeling the emotion because of the intensity of emotion again. And so it doesn't move from a place of honesty. It moves from a place of assumption, and it's trying to protect you from feeling what you need to feel to understand things, you know? And so, no, I think your ego is what keeps you from exploring those things, because ego, inner child, and your mind all operate out of fear, right? And so what you got to understand is the only way to get over fear is to learn more, because we only fear what we don't understand, you know? And so the ego, the inner child, the mind, that's the lower self. But then you also have a higher self. And that higher self is the part of you that seeks to understand things. It's the clarifier. And so that higher self is meant to ask questions. It's meant to go towards the things that you're afraid of. And so it's doing what you should do versus what you want to do, which is run away and hide. What you should do is look into it, you know, because we don't realize that doubt and skepticism is not supposed to be meant for us to reject things. No, doubt and skepticism is your ability to sense logical inconsistencies and gaps in the information that you are receiving, which means that you are realizing that somebody's giving you a half truth. And so what we do is we doubt it altogether and we reject the entire thing, but that's not how it's supposed to work. Doubt and skepticism is supposed to be like, I'm not getting all the information. Let me ask more questions. But we grew up in a school system that told us that if the questions are not aligned with their framework, we're being disruptive, right? And so a lot of us don't like to ask questions because we don't want to get it wrong, or we don't want to be punished, or we don't want to be sent to the principal's office or whatever the fuck, and we still operate from that place. But you need to have a curious mind, because your intuition is your curiosity. Your intuition is your curiosity. So many people come to me like, I'm disconnected from my intuition. You're disconnected from your curiosity, is what you're saying. Because when you get that hunch, you get that curiosity, and you know that something isn't right here, that is your intuition. It is the curious part of you, but you've been taught, your curiosity has been suppressed through the education system, through church. What they tell you, don't question God. And if you questioning me, you questioning God, right? Don't question God. They're telling you not to be curious, right? You go to school, they tell you to raise your hand, which is unnatural, but they tell you to raise your hand so that they can select you. So it gets you stuck in this loop of needing to be chosen to speak your truth, right? And then if it's a question that does not align with the framework, they say that you're disrupting. And it doesn't matter, because that's not going to be on the test. So let's not talk about that. It suppresses your curiosity, right? And as a woman, your curiosity, your intuition is the most important thing about you, because women are connected to the unseen. We are the higher self in this reality. We are the higher self embodied. And so we need to stay curious, because that is what helps us to be a conduit between the seen and the unseen. We have access to both. Thank you, love. I will follow you and seek more information through your services. Oh, thanks, love. Yeah, and you should be a why person, but not a why person to your own detriment. And what I mean by that is not trying to prove something, though, you know, because I think that we also taught through science that if we can't prove it, it doesn't exist. And so a lot of times we don't know how to take our internal truth as being valid without having some type of physical proof of it. And so I think the question why sometimes gets us stuck in a loop of confusion and trying to figure something out instead of embodying it, asking ourselves, right? Because we're looking outside of ourselves, and so instead of embodying it and asking our soul to bring it to our awareness and waiting, because again, your body moves from feeling, it moves in stillness, it moves in slowness. So your answers don't come as quick from the body, but we used to instant gratification, right? And so if you don't ever know how to sit with the question and let it blossom, you'll rarely ever get to the actual truth and not the truth that you was given, somebody else's truth. Because you got to realize we live in an environment where multiple truths exist at once. It's his truth, her truth, my truth, they truth, right? And so you got to figure out what's your truth, but your truth only comes from your internal wisdom, you know? And so we don't realize that our heart is a memory vault for our soul. Our womb is a memory vault for our ancestors, and men have wombs too. We actually have 3 wombs, but they don't teach you about that. We actually have 3 nervous systems, but they don't teach you about that either. But what I'm saying is that wisdom lives inside of you. Your body is the 4 elements. If you look at your bottom chakra, it's earth. The root is earth. The sacral is water. The solar plexus is fire. The heart is air. Those are the 4 elements. Your body belongs to earth. And so the reason why they can't get rid of history is because history lives inside of you. You are directly connected to earth and earth's wisdom. So in order for you to gain earth's wisdom and remember the things that they try to erase, is you have to get in better connection to your body, because your body is earth, as above, so below. You are made up of the 4 elements and stardust. And that's why they say you are the universe. You are the creator, because you are. But we don't understand that. We can understand it with our minds, but we don't understand it with our bodies. And that's why I'm doing this soul school. That's why I'm talking about the stuff that I talk about, because we don't have elders in the way that we used to, because they were so disembodied. They were so bought into a system that was meant to fucking destroy us. And so those of us who are willing to do the work, those of us who do remember, we have to bring that knowledge back into this reality, you know? And so that's why I be doing what I be doing. Hey, Busy Bee. This is true. I think that does happen to me. That's why patience is key. It is. Yep. Patience is really key, because that is how you actually understand what your truth is. But it requires you to sit with it. It requires you to be patient. It requires you to explore inside of yourself. And, you know, I think they tell you, and this the part that be fucking me up about religion too, is that they tell you that the priest got this from God. He got this from Jesus, which nobody has ever met God. So how do y'all know how God is? Nobody's ever met God. God was never an embodied entity. And so how do y'all know how God is responding to things and God's account of things? 1. 2, if you have a direct connection to Jesus, then are you not just talking to a dead person? Because didn't y'all say that Jesus was here and then he died? And so are you not just a medium? So you allowed to be a medium, but if I'm a medium, then I'm demonic. If you are, no man is better than me, and we all have the same capabilities, like you always try to sell us, we're all the same, then if you could talk to the dead, can't I talk to the dead? But when I do it, demonic, right? You know what? You can't talk. If you do talk to the dead, the only dead you can talk to is Jesus, who shed blood for you. But your own ancestors who shed blood for you, demonic. That don't sound suspicious to y'all? Do you know that I call on my ancestors for everything? I'll be like, if I have an ancestor that can help me clean, like I told y'all about this story. I told my ancestors that can help me clean and organize, because me, if I get to cleaning, I throw everything in this bitch away. Everything. I don't give a fuck, damn or shit. And so I was like, I didn't want to be like that. I wanted to be intentional. Like I wanted to keep things that were important to me and stuff like that. So I called on the ancestor to help me. Her name is Annie. She's on my mama's daddy's side. Never met this lady a day in my life. Never met her. She grabbed me by my motherfucking edges, had me cleaning for 9 fucking hours. Wouldn't even let me sit down and eat. You know, I get done and she has a conversation with me about collapsing timelines. And she said, with every bag that I filled, I was collapsing timelines. I was moving ancestral and interdimensional energy. And she was like, you holding on to all these things just in case is you moving from a scarcity timeline. If you are collapsing all these timelines energetically, then you need to actually match it in the physical too. Otherwise, the energy has nowhere to go. I wouldn't have had that wisdom. And she also told me my pain is not where my power comes from. The transformation and the wisdom that I gained from that pain is where my power comes from. She changed my motherfucking life. I don't even know her, never met her a day in my fucking life. Her name is Auntie Annie. I text my mom and said, yeah, that's my grandmother's sister, her younger sister. And she's like, how do you know that? She told me what her name was. I asked her what her name was. She told me what her name was. And she was like, oh, wow. I never met her a day in my life. You know, She gave me some of the best advice I done had this whole quarter. So you can talk to the dead man Jesus, but you can't talk to your ancestors who actually shed blood for you to be here. I'm just saying, seems suspicious to me. It seems suspicious to me, you know, but who am I? You're not lying. I'm Haitian American, and my living ancestors don't follow our culture as if it's not divine direction. I've been doing the work to reconnect. I love that for you. You know, because your ancestors live in your DNA because you carry the same blood as them. In the DNA is a storage facility, right? But the problem is that we've dealt with so much manipulation and distortion, especially over these last 2 generations, that we have a virus in our software. And so it's like having a computer with a virus. The information is still there, it's just corrupted. And so somebody has to come in and do the generational curse break, and somebody has to come in and move the trauma, right? And then when you can do that, you clear the channel for everybody. Now everybody has space to grow and evolve from a clear place. You don't only do it for you, you do it for everybody else, because y'all all have the same blood, which means y'all all have the same codes, which means y'all all have the same access to the same storage facilities. You know, and that's stored in your womb. When it's ancestral, that's your instincts. Your instincts come from your ancestors. So even if you don't acknowledge them, they're still fucking helping you. The lessons that they learned in their life are still helping you. You know, you might have had an ancestor who was getting her ass beat. And then in this lifetime, when somebody tries to hit you, you know how to duck and dodge, and it's just your instinct. It's because of that ancestor who had to learn how to get the fuck out the way. It's not that you're natural at it. It's that you have your ancestors' instincts embedded in you because you are them. And so you don't fix the past by going back and fixing the past. You fix the past in the present. It's what you do right now. But that's a whole nother story. I was just scrolling, but spirit stopped me, period. It never made sense. That's why I left the church years ago. Yeah, and I don't think the church is a bad place. I'm never going to say that. I think that it will lead to deeper knowing if you seek to know. Because if you walk in that place and you have a pure heart, you are going to connect with the right thing. But if you walk in there trying to intellectualize and shit like that, you won't. You won't. That's why you got to be in your body. That's why you'll meet church people who are profound as fuck. And it's because the Bible was created to enslave the ignorant, but to empower the wise. People who know how to read it from a place of, because everybody's supposed to be able to give their perspective on it. And we all have different perspectives because we all have different experiences, you know, but we don't create a safe space for us to be different, right? Because they tell us we're all the same. We are not the same. They tell us this story of survival of the fittest. We're not fucking animals, you know? I had a conversation, y'all. Oh my gosh, I was so frustrated. And I didn't even feel like explaining to this person, but I was talking to this dude who takes on like a Tupac type of vibe. Meaning like, you know, Tupac was that nigga. He was that nigga. He literally was talking that talk, walking that walk, but his mama was a Black Panther. So he, you know, he's an educated guy. He went to fucking Juilliard, you know? And so he's talking, but it's so postcard. And as a medium, I don't know how to explain that to you besides the fact that I can tell when the information is not actually backed by integration because it feels like a postcard. It feels very flimsy. Like I could just push it and knock it over. I don't know how to explain that to you. It's just the energy feeling thingy, right? And so he's talking and he's basically talking about how, you know, we need to rebel and we need to actually be violent with violence. And I'm like, well, that doesn't work. We've done that before. It doesn't work, you know? And so he's like, well, survival of the fittest and da, 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 da. And I'm just like, yeah, but they tell you that, you know, and he started talking about the king of the jungle. And I'm like, yeah, but they tell you that because then it gets you into this masculine energy of force instead of being an energy of reception. And so I was trying to explain that to him and he kept on calling himself a philosopher. And I was like, well, do you know that every philosopher was a vegan? And he was like, huh? No, I didn't know that. They were a vegan. So when they tell us that we're like animals, we're like the king of the jungle, we are herbivores. Herbivores' mouths move side to side, right? But a carnivore's mouth moves up and down because that's the way that they have to be constructed to be a carnivore. So them telling us survival of the fittest, we're like the king of the jungles, we're animals, we're supposed to be vicious and we're supposed to be eating flesh and we're not even designed that way. You know, and so he was trying to use this animalistic side of us as a way to explain and justify violence. And I was just like, yeah, but herbivores are naturally calm beings. We are naturally calm beings, but they're trying to put, anyways. Child, it's a whole thing. When it comes to mediumship, connecting with ancestors, is it normal to being able to start physically seeing them manifest? This has been happening to me recently. It's so crazy and cool. Yeah, if you are a seer, if you have clairvoyance, you will actually see them. Me, I'm clairaudient, which means that I hear them in their own voice. I hear them speaking to me. But yeah, that's actually normal if you're clairvoyant. It's strange to me when people don't question things. Our ancestors are always within us. Yes, and you can call on them for any, because they're always helping you move stuff. They're always helping you do something. They're always helping to protect you. You know, like that voice that say go left instead of go right. You know, like they're always helping us whether we know it or not. And so we got to honor them. You know, my ancestors sometimes get a little crazy though, because I got a cousin. He's not an ancestor, he's just a cousin, but he do be coming through because sometimes spirits just want to talk to somebody, you know. And so he be asking me for chicken wings and chicken Alfredo. Don't be asking me for all of that. You get coffee and water like everybody else. But yeah, no, it's great to have a relationship with your ancestors because you can always ask them instead of asking outside of yourself. You know, chaos does create the tougher parts. We have been mixed hybrids. Really, spiritual people is definitely not new. We just refine it. Well, because everything is spiritual. Spiritual just means spirit, just means frequency. Everything has a frequency, you know. And so you're right, spirituality is not new. The universe will send everything we need. Yeah, or we magnetize it. It's not even about, because we are the universe. We're the thing that's sending it. We are the thing that's sending it, you know. And so it's about magnetism and about, but in order for you to be magnetic, you got to be an energy of sacred exchange, which means you can't be people pleasing, you can't be hyper independent. You have to be in a state of willingness and allowance, which also doesn't only have to do with money, you know, because it's also trusting people with your truth, you know, and allowing them to be accountable, because that's also being able to receive, allowing like for criticism without taking somebody else's truth as your truth, you know. That's also you being receptive. You know, like it's other way. It's not just about the material side of things. It's also energetic receptivity. You know what I'm saying? How did you find that? That's what I'm saying. On the inside, my truth comes from inside of me. I have built energetic systems. I have built this tarot. All of this comes from inside of me. It's me, my ancestors, my oversoul, my spirit team, dreams, all of it. So I've cleared enough of the trauma to be able to tap into my internal wisdom. So everything that I'll be telling y'all, even with the thing of like the masculine and feminine cycle, and you know what side is the truth and what's, all of it comes from the inside. But society tells you that you need proof through science, otherwise it doesn't exist. But that's another way to disembody you. The truth does not need proof. It literally exists inside of you. You know, every time I hear you speak, I feel less crazy. I'm starting to believe I be in alignment. Yeah. How do we call on them? Do we have to be frequently aligned? No. You can start small. So what I always do before I started calling on my ancestors for anything, I just started acknowledging them and building a relationship. And so I would leave out water and I would leave out coffee. And I would just, you know, say I rise and I lift my ancestors up, seen and unseen, who want to see me be successful on my journey, because not all of them want to deal with you. I got an ancestor named Frankie that literally looked at me and said, no, go the fuck away. Okay, Frankie, you don't like being bothered. I see that. All right, have a good one. You know, I don't even know where that person comes from. I think it comes from my dad's side, but no, I went and visited him and he turned me right the fuck like, yeah, no. And so you need to set your intentions. I always, every morning I rise and I lift them up. I make sure that they got water. I make sure that they got coffee. You know, before I pay a energetic practitioner, I will give the money to my ancestors, because money is energy exchange, you know? And so, if I'm going to ask for help, I call on specific ancestors for specific things. And so, like, if I am trying to develop my psychic gifts, my granny Goldie on my mom's side, she always comes through. She wants to help with that. That's her favorite thing to do. You know, my grandma May don't help me with too much stuff, but she do just peep in on me, you know? So it's like I call on specific ancestors for things, but you don't need to know the ancestors. You just need to set the intention for what it is you're trying to accomplish. And so, like, if I struggle to, I don't know, I'm trying to put content together or something, and I struggle to organize my thoughts, I will call on an ancestor who is good at organizing their thoughts and putting things together, because then I can borrow their energy while I am working on what I'm working on. You know, if I struggle with alignment, I call on my ancestors that were very grounded, that worked with the earth, that were rooted in themselves and in their truth, to come and sit with me in those moments where I don't feel grounded, you know, because then I can borrow their energy. Then I can feel what it feels like in my body, because I just ask them to rise up in my field so that I can feel them. You know, sometimes I ask them, what did truth feel like in your time? What did illusion feel like in your time? And I get to see what they was experiencing at that time. I ask them questions, you know, just like I'm talking to a person. You know, you also can put up their pictures if it's ancestors that you know, put up their pictures, but don't think that just because they done crossed over, they became fucking angels. They didn't. For some reason, they like to tell people that when people pass away, they become an angel. No, the fuck they don't. They're the same exact person. And so if you got an uncle who is a piece of shit, and he talked like motherfucker this, motherfucker that, and he was a drunk, he's still a motherfucking drunk over there. He still acts the same fucking way. You know, some of them do work though. You know, I got a cousin who did work on the other side, you know. But some of them, sometimes I channel y'all ancestors, and y'all ancestors be misogynistic as fuck. And I be having to check y'all ancestors, because who would you talking to? One of them told me he don't like, he said he don't like how I talk. And I was like, what do you mean you don't like how I talk? You're just so blunt. Women are supposed to be soft. Shut up talking to me before I cuss you. Do you want to talk to this person? Because if you want to talk to this person, you're going to have to stop trying to tell me who to be. You know? But yeah, no, they don't become angels, which is best reciprocity. When I call on the either anything I ask for comes so quick. Yeah, you need to. You need to. What dimensional plane the ancestors be in? So the ancestors are closest to you. So your ancestors and your spirit guide are closest to you. And so usually they're on the fourth and fifth planes of existence, you know, because they need to be close to you in this incarnation. They actually are of earth. You know, your ancestor connection is of earth. That's why it's in your womb. It's of earth, you know. But then your star connection is through your heart. And so, like, the reason why you need to have a clear heart, the reason why you need to feel, is because that's the language of your heart, and you can access your soul memories from past galaxies and places that you've been before you fully descended here, because this is kind of like the bottom. And so we always going through this cycle of fully descending and then ascending again, but then descending again and ascending again. But while you're in this, the only way for you to ascend out of this is to descend, which means you need to oversoul embodiment, and then you ascend out, because you know when you pass away, it's more about like learning how to astral project. So like the Egyptian Book of the Dead, Tibetan Book of the Dead, stuff like that, so that you don't get stuck in the loop again. But if you clear your karma and stuff like that, you're not being pulled, because you only pulled if you're in a contracted state, if you're in a state of fear. And that's why they tell you death is final, and they make you fear death, because when you do, you just get stuck back into the loop. When you're supposed to die in a place of ease, and when you die in a place of ease, you kind of float out of your body instead of being yanked because of the fear. You know what I'm saying? I probably don't. Some of y'all might. Okay. They still have the same energy. Absolutely. They're still the same motherfucker they was when they passed. Some of them, you know, hang up on you, not in the mood. Yes. Should you not connect to ancestors when they didn't live right on earth? There is no living right, babe. No, people are not perfect, you know, and I think because society tells us that people are perfect, people are not perfect. It does not mean that they don't have any value. But I think that if they were like a rapist or a murderer, I mean, those are probably not the people I want to call on, you know, unless you're in a situation where you're back against the wall and somebody's threatening your life and you need to bring that dog up out of you, you know. There's use for everything. But nah, people, I have a cousin who was a crackhead for a period of time. The smartest motherfucker I ever met in my entire fucking life. He could sit in front of Jeopardy and all the answers. And I'm like, how do you even know that? Like, how do you even know that? He is brilliant. One of the most brilliant people that I would say next to me, because he's next to me, he is the most brilliant person I've ever met in my entire life. And people have counted him out his entire life because he's got gold teeth. He's a thug. He's you know, he be in prison. He be down there in the mud, getting it out the mud. You know what I'm saying? One of the smartest people I ever fucking met in my life. Do he live a righteous life? No. Do he be beating on women? Yeah. You know, I'll be having to cuss his ass out about that. But he is the smartest nigga I've ever met in my entire fucking life. And so there is no right. You know, there's no right and no wrong. And we get stuck in the semantics. That's a very polarity consciousness way of thinking about things. Right, wrong, left, right, black, white. No, everything appears on a spectrum. Between black and white is gray. Between hot and cold is warm. So you have everything between hot and warm and everything between warm and cold. It's like a dial. Like, you know, like when you turn on a shower and you got hot to cold and you can push it in between. That's where we live in. That's where we at. So there is no right. You know, you also got to think some people had to do what the fuck they had to do because the society is not set up for them. Period. So there's no right. Like a past life regression, I was thinking of doing this. You don't need a past life regression. The history of you lives in your body. Okay? It does. And as a past life regressionist and a hypnosis, I'm certified in both things. The past lives in you. You can tap into it anytime you want to. You just got to give yourself permission. Our beliefs get in the way of our ability to see what we need to see. Because we believe that don't exist or that somebody else has to do it for us. We can't do it ourselves. We won't give ourselves permission to fall into the darkness because we're afraid of the dark. Some of us are afraid of the dark. I was one of them, you know? And so we won't let ourselves fall into the darkness because it feels unsafe. We don't know what to expect and we don't like when we don't have a plan and when we can't intellectualize, right? And so we never sit in that. Baby, the past is in you. It lives in your DNA. You can see every single past life that you have. I got 9 of them, you know? And so that's what I'm trying to teach through the school. The soul school is how to do those things because we've been disembodied. And so I'm trying to help us to embody again so that we can go there, you know, because as a person, like I dream, in prophecy, and there's all kind of messages that come like symbolically through my dreams now. You know, it's just insane. It's really insane when you let yourself be who you are and stop trying to define yourself according to societal standards, because society will have you being half of you just because it needs you to be half of you so they can control the other half. No, you are a multidimensional being. You are a multidimensional being, multifaceted. You exist across multiple dimensions and timelines at the same fucking time. The past, present, and future are all happening right now. You're the infinite point of potential where it all exists, but you got to get into neutrality. You got to be able to sink into your heart space so that you can see it. You got to be able to receive, but they disconnected you from the feminine so that you are not in a receptive state. You do everything through effort and force. You can't do this through effort and force though. And so it requires you to feel safe in your nervous system first so that you can feel into your body, because your body is a celestial map. Every single trauma, everything you can't remember from your childhood, it exists in your body. It's in the tension in your body. In the places where you're no longer flexible is because that memory is held there. The concentration of energy, a ball of energy, you know? And so somatic therapy helps because somatic therapy is you learning how to read your body as the map, you know? But that's what I'm teaching through my soul school is how to do that. But the reason why I do human design readings is because we live in a society that likes to intellectualize. And so human design is a way for you to stay in the energy of intellectualizing and understanding yourself from an energetic standpoint. But you eventually need to go to intuition. You need to eventually be in the intuition part of it, you know? And so I think it's a great way to enter the door into who you are on an energetic level. But then you also need to explore, like you need to sit, you need to imagine the color yellow and the color blue and the color in which we're going to be doing through the school, and see how it feels. How can you describe the feeling? Most of us don't want to sit in the feeling long enough to describe it because we're terrified to feel, and so like colors have textures, they have temperatures, they have tones, and they make you think of certain things. And so in the school, we're going to be looking at music. We're going to be looking at, because I love music. Sue me. This is going to be fun. I'm not doing no boring shit. I'm done with the boring shit. So we're going to be looking at music and sensing tone changes. If we can feel what energy they moving from when they created the song, are they actually connected to the energy of what they're saying in the song? Because sometimes people are not connected to the energy of what they're saying in the song. And that's why the song feel like it's not a good song, but it is. You know what I'm saying? But we'll also be looking at interviews, because you can see when people's energy contracts in an interview and where they don't want to answer something. Like Whitney Houston is a good example of this. P. Diddy, anytime he's asked about Tupac, he goes from being open to completely shut. We're going to be looking at that. We're going to be looking at colors. We're going to be looking at what dissonance feels like in your body versus what's resonance. We're going to be looking at signals versus stories, because every single emotion holds a story. You're supposed to unveil the story, anyways, it's going to be fun. I'm excited about it. Are your immediate ancestors from your mother's side or father's side? I don't know my mother's side at all. Yes. So your ancestors are mom, dad, grandparents, great grandparents, great great grandparents, and it goes up through the mother, father side. And so anybody who's like an aunt, a sibling, a cousin, those are like not your direct ancestors. Those are your like adjacents. They're people's energy you can tap into, but it's really just up. And you don't need to know them. They know you. You don't need to know them. Like I said, I had an auntie come through. I don't know her from a can of paint. My mom's dad, we didn't have a great relationship, but he comes through all the time and he'll like tell me stuff about my grandma and my granddad's past, because he was like, you just think that they just so perfect and they just da. And so he'll tell me all of their motherfucking business, and I call my mom on the phone and be like, Mama, this is what he said. Now, why would he tell you that? Yes, this is true, but you didn't need to know. Get your daddy. So yeah, you don't need to know them. Hey, Cosmic Beauty. Okay, you can literally use those energies for anything, literally anything. Anything you're struggling with, you got an ancestor who was good at it. Call them forward, ask for their help, but give them the choice. Meaning, like I always say, like I call for the ancestor who was really, really great at this and wants to see me to reach my full potential. Because not all your ancestors like you, especially if you of mixed race. Not all them motherfuckers like you. Like I said, they're the same motherfuckers that they was when they passed over. Okay? And so some of them are racist. I just want to say that. They actually want to ruin you. And if you got a spiteful mother or somebody who, like, say you was the kid who had a narcissistic parent and you decided to separate, when that parent passes over, sometimes they will try to energetically abuse you still. And that's why it's important to know how to protect yourself energetically, even with what you can't see. Love that. It's cool to hear how you use energy and stuff like that, especially because I don't have many friends that understand these things and actually use it. Yeah, like I had to explore, I had to figure this out for myself, because I was being spiritually attacked for 2.5 years. And I had been told I was a medium, but when she told me I was a medium, I was like, girl, I'm not here for that. Tell me what my cousin said, because my cousin died. My cousin Kim right here. She died. And I'm like, girl, I don't give a fuck about none of that. Is my cousin okay? And so then I got spiritually attacked right after that. And so I had to call her back like, okay, I'm ready to listen now, sister. Tell me what I need to do, because you're not about to beat me up in the real world. So you definitely not beat me up in spirit. I will figure it out, because I was scared. I was terrified. That shit, it was scary. It was a scary experience. I've never experienced anything like that in my life. I felt like an imposter in my own fucking body. It was strange. It took me days to bounce back from that shit. And then my mouth started breaking out. It was like all kind of shit. And my left eye, it was terrible, but I was just like, you fear what you don't understand. So you need to just know more, because you can actually come up with a strategy if you know what you're dealing with, but if you never look into it and you just move from the state, you don't have to be a scaredy cat. You can get in the field with these spirits if you want to get in the field, but you're not about to whoop up on me, ho, ever. You know? How do I tap in past life through your body? So you, oh shit. What you want to do is close your eyes, and what I would do is ask your body, where does the past life version of you lived, and feel for the tension, like scan from the top of your head all the way down. And then when you get to the tension, you need to go inside of it. But again, it depends on how safe you feel in your body, because memories are emotions. You know what I'm saying? And so we taught in society to protect ourselves from feeling certain emotions. And so if you're not a feeler, you're going to have to get in the resonance of the energy of your past life. And if it's something where you were deeply misunderstood, or you feel betrayed, or any of those things, you're going to have to sit in that energy in order for you to get the memory. And if you are terrified of sitting in that energy because that's how you feel in this life, because most of the time it is how you feel, we just repeat in a cycle, right? You're not going to be able to let yourself see it, you know? And so the past life is something you got to unbury, meaning like you got to deal with the wounds that you have in this life first, and then you can get into that, you know? But you can try it without it. I don't know how good your results are going to be, though. Hold on. So school starts March 22nd, but I'm having because I'm doing like ancient technology and modern wisdom. And so the app is going to be dropping January 16th. And I'm going to have like a grand opening. And between January 16th until March, I'll be holding a session a week on the app where you can come and just kind of sit in presence. And it's like, I'm just going to be asking you, like, what are you bringing? It's kind of like a healing circle preemptively. That's where I'll be teaching you how to, somatically read your body. And it's just a place for us to kind of come together, kind of have conversation like this, get to know each other. Because if you follow the spiral like it's supposed to, beginners, intermediate, advanced, these are the people that you're going to be with for 3 years while you in soul school. And as you learn how to read energy and so it's like, I want us to build community, and a real community, to be able to be vulnerable with each other and talk to each other about things and lean on each other, because I think that so many of us want community, but we just don't know how to go about it, because we don't know how to communicate. We don't know how to feel. We don't know how to express. We don't know, you know what I'm saying? So for January 16th through March 16th, we're just going to be kind of coming together and just getting to know each other, talking to each other, introducing ourselves, maybe do some healing work, maybe do some sound, but I don't know. Just whatever. Because I wanted to see what the space looks like when I'm not offering you nothing and you not offering me nothing. So the only thing that's due right now is the initiation fee, which is 111. And then between now or January until you don't have a next payment until March. And so it's like, while this space is open, while I'm not offering you nothing and you not offering me nothing, who are we in this space? And so that's presence. That's present. So I wanted to open up the space for presence. And then March 22nd, we'll start classes, which I did the astrology for. Those are energetically aligned like a motherfucker with what I'm here to do. So I'm excited about that. Astrology incense to help me meditate. Oh, okay. I just don't like meditating. Sometimes I'd rather dream, astral project, or have a use of tarot. I mean, but there's multiple ways to meditate, though. Like, you could meditate by just walking, or anytime you're in the shower, you meditate. And most of the time, if you're driving with the music off, you meditating. So it's just entering into an altered state of consciousness. And you need to learn how to enter into an altered state of consciousness so that you can stay conscious when you are astral projecting, or when you're lucid dreaming, or when you're things like that. So it's practice. Meditation is practice also on how to stay present. And so you have to learn how to meditate. It is a requirement. It is teaching you stillness. And I think most of us are uncomfortable with meditating because we have not mastered our ego yet. And so the ego is the part of you that says that this is stupid, this doesn't work, this is dumb, this is da-da-da. And it doesn't let you sit there for long enough because it doesn't want to feel the uncomfortableness of stillness. I think we have been so conditioned to distract ourselves from how we actually feel with the telephones, with our friends, with whatever, is that we struggle to sit in stillness, and we struggle to sit in the slowness. We struggle when nothing is forming, and so meditation is trying to teach you how to practice that, because we are ritualistic people, whether we want to understand that or not, which means we learn by repetition. You have to do something over and over again in order for you to get good at it. Do we have to meditate to tap into past and Akashic records? I do think I'm still scared of the dark. Yep, you do have to learn. And it's a lot easier when you stop thinking of it like a task and you just sit in stillness. Like, I don't like to say meditate. I prefer stillness, because if I say meditate, people think that they're supposed to be doing something. Like they're supposed to be seeing something. They're supposed to be no. It's you learning how to get comfortable in stillness when nothing is happening. Like, you are literally sitting in presence, and presence is when you're not trying to figure anything out. You're not trying to become something. You're not trying to figure out how you're gonna pay your rent, and you're not worried about the past. You are literally just being. You're existing where you are right now, and just holding that frequency of being. It doesn't mean that thoughts are not going to come through. You acknowledge them and you keep them pushing, And so it's like sitting in presence is like when you're not trying to figure anything out, when you're not trying to, can you know that you are worthy in that space? You know what I'm saying? I'll tap in, but I'll be feeling my fear. Yeah, that's okay. Fear is false evidence appearing real. Fear just means that you're bumping up against something that you don't know how to handle. That is okay. Fear and faith both require you to trust in something that you cannot see. You get to choose if you're going to have fear or faith. It doesn't mean that the fear goes away, because the fear never goes away. Even as an embodied person, I still experience fear, but I do not let fear make my decisions. If you let fear make your decisions, that's your inner child, that's your ego, or that's your mind. One of the three, which are your lower selves. I was able to see 3 of my past lives. Yeah, I've seen a couple, like even with people. I had a past life. I have 2 past lives that I know with my brother. I have 2 past lives that I know with one of my exes. I have 2 past lives that I have with my girl cousins that I can see as well. Now tell the darkness that I am you and you are me, then fear goes away. Oh, good, busybody. I just don't like meditating. Sometimes I rather dream. Gotcha. We're not even on the correct calendar year. Oh, I love that. I do that deep. Nice. Okay. Can you teach us how to astro project in school? I don't think it's a safe thing to do until you learn how to be safe in your own body. You want to lucid dream before you astro project, because lucid dreaming is the practice grounds for astro projecting. But when you astro project, you are in the real world, meaning like this is a dream. This is a dream field that we're all experiencing together, right? But it's not real. This is a place where we came to co-create with angelic codes and source and things like that. But outside of here, when we go to sleep and we dream, our consciousness is moving through the consciousness field. You are in the real deal. And so that means that things can harm you, things can attach themselves to you, and those are real things. That's why people wake up with scratches and shit. Like, it's not something, it seems fun, and it is when you know how to direct yourself. But no, you need to learn how to lucid dream first, and then you go to astral projection, because you need to know how to energetically protect yourself before you get out there playing in the spirits. Okay? Because some of them don't like you. And it's not because of anything you did, it's the mere fact that you have little awareness of yourself. And so some of them will, especially if you run into an elemental, because elementals are kind of trickster spirits. They can make you hallucinate. They move shit around in your house. And they don't necessarily like you. And so like, if you get into a place where you're about to astral project and you wake up but your body is asleep, they will turn into something scary to scare the fuck out of you, just because they don't like humans, because we be fucking up. They are made of the elements and we be fucking up Earth, which they share this plane with us. They just are on a higher frequency than us. They can materialize when they want to, but they don't want to materialize because they don't like us. They don't fuck with us. And so when they see you in spirit, they can't wait to hand your fucking ass to you. And so you just got to be careful, friends. You just got to be careful. Is calling on your ancestors like calling on the aether? Well, no, because aether is the plasma, right? Because we think we surrounded by air, and that's not true. It's water vapor, and so it's crystalline plasma, you know? And so Aether is our connection to that consciousness cord. So it kind of connects us to the universe, it connects us to each other and things like that. But your ancestors are literally in your body, they're in your womb space. In the DNA code, which your DNA is a storage facility, it holds megatons worth of information. And so your ancestors are not in the aether because they're not outside of you. I mean, I guess you got plasma inside of your body, yeah. But no, they exist within inside of you, like another frequency of you. You know, I love that your mama holds space for you to talk about these things. My mama be like, hell no. Yeah, my mama's a Sagittarius. And so Sagittariuses are like philosophers anyway. But I do think that, you know, she wants to explore these things, and she is always kind of been like woo woo, and like she used to have like the beads on the door. She was the Erykah Badu, Prince, Bob Marley, you know, type of girl. And so she's always kind of been like I call her a curse cracker. She cracked the curses open, but she didn't fully break them. And so yeah, we can talk about a lot more. I can talk about a lot more with my mom than I can with most people, which I like. Yeah, some ancestors do not want to be bothered. How can I connect to my ancestors? Like, how do I call to speak to them, feel them? You literally just talk to them, like talk into the air, like you're talking to a person. You know what I'm saying? Like, just tell them, and then you need to trust that they're gonna show up. You know, and so like it's not complicated. It's like, hey, I'm struggling with this. So if I have any ancestors that are good at this, who are aligned with my highest good and want to see me succeed on my path, please come forward. I could really use your help with X, Y, and Z. And then I just leave it alone. And then all of a sudden I'm doing something and I got all this energy, and I'm like, then I hear somebody say something in my head and I'm like, who is this? Well, I'm your aunt this, or I'm yo this. And they're helping me with this. And I didn't even realize that they was even there until they said something. And then after I'm done with what I'm doing, after I use the energy or whatever, I thank them and I talk to them and I ask them who they are and what they was helping me with, and they would tell me. So just like a conversation. How can you be racist on the 5D? Well, people don't go to the 5D when they pass over, babe. Most of them hang around the 4D, which is the astral plane. And so the astral plane looks just like Earth, but it's just a little bit more vibrant in color. But there are souls that are earthbound. They're operating on that 4D plane. And so like, that's where you get astral attachments. That's where your astral project, like, it's like a whole realm that has different realms within that realm. You know what I'm saying? It's like how we have America on this side, but then we got Europe on that side. Like, it's like that, you know? And some people don't transcend that. It's kind of like a purgatory in a way. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie What Dreams May Come. But it's a movie with Robin Williams, and it talks about death. Like, he loses his wife, and then to suicide, he loses himself, whatever. And that's the most clear representation of what happens when you pass away. And so 5D is not a consolation prize. You know, like, it's a frequency that we tap into while we're still here. We have access to 3, 4, and 5. And then we also have access up into some of the higher 9D, 11, 12, depending on how much work we do. But most spirits, if they do not go on to a plane higher than this plane, they will hang out in the astral plane, still doing the things that they did before they came here. And that's why, like, when some people pass away, they can still hear they papa walking down the hallway, or they can still hear somebody jingling their keys. And it's because they're on the 4D. They're right above us, really just a 90-degree turn, a 90-degree angle difference between us. And they're just repeating and redoing the things that they did while they was here. And so not every spirit that dies goes away from here, meaning they go to the astral plane, but they still are close to Earth. Like, that's the closest plane to Earth. And a lot of earthbound spirits who have unfinished business or just don't want to go anywhere else, they just kind of want to be comfortable where they are, they'll stay over there, you know? And so it doesn't require any work or anything. You know, I love, oops, shit. My phone is hot as hell. Let me unplug this. Hey, Callie. Okay, sorry, I'm trying to go back up. Sorry, it was too many. Okay, sorry, y'all. I'm trying to get y'all comments and stuff. I love that saying, you fear what you don't understand. Yeah, You do. Because fear is just not knowing. You don't feel like you have the skills to, it's like not trusting is what fear is. You don't trust that you have the skills for this thing, you know? And so it's just you don't understand enough. You need to practice more. That's it. What was it like being spiritually attacked? Like, how do you know when it happens? Well, I had a black magic attack, and that was more intense than any other spiritual attack I've ever had. But first I started getting self-conscious, and I was like up in my living room like dancing, because I'm a dancer. I was a dancer, not stripper, contemporary jazz ballet. Let's get clear, structural dance. But I was dancing in my living room and I started feeling self-conscious. And the moment that I let the thoughts in is when the attack could happen. And that's why you got to have control and authority over your mind. Okay. But it was trying to attack me for about 30 minutes. And then I let the thought in. And when I let the thought in, I got really self-conscious. And that's when the attack started. And the person told me that I'm nothing more than a puppet and that he can make me docile. And then it felt like he was turning down the right side of my head. Like it was like I was wincing because it felt like he was like screwing something, or I don't fucking know. And I felt extreme paranoia. I felt like an imposter in my body. And so what happened is I tried to lay down real quick because it was like making me wince. And I was like, oh, fuck, that hurts. And then I like lifted up and I called on Archangel Michael in his truest essence. That was not me. I don't know who said that. I didn't even know what the fuck Archangel Michael did before that moment. But I called on him because it's like something started speaking through me. And so I like lifted up and I said this, and it felt like something whooshed out my door because I had my door open. And I felt really weird in my body. Like it's like I was looking out of my eyes, but everything looked familiar. Like I knew where I was, but nothing was familiar. Like I felt strange in my own body. I don't know how else to explain that. And I just was extreme paranoia. I jumped up and I locked my door and I like was turning down it was just weird. And so I got on TikTok after that. And it was a guy who I had just did a psychic development class with that morning, who basically described my attack word for motherfucking word. And I was just like, bitch, this came from you, ho. That's why you can't trust people on the internet. And so that was the first spiritual attack I ever experienced on like a high level. After that, I got attacked over and over again for about 2.5 years. And he had a tether, like an energetic tether in me. And so he didn't need to be around me all the time, only when I was in a compromised position. So anytime I was smoking or I was drinking too much, he would show up and he would start talking in my head. Like, it's almost like you got a narcissistic parent that's beating you down. Like that's literally what it felt like. Just like talking down on me. And I used to be arguing. I started arguing with him. But he ended up attaching something to one of my friends. I was talking to one of my friends on the phone, and somebody I really trust. I really, really trusted her. And so he ended up attaching something to her. And randomly, she just was like, we were supposed to like go on this trip together for our business because we had a business together. And we was going on this trip to celebrate the business because it was closing down the business, whatever. And we were supposed to go to Belize, and then she randomly hit me up and was like, let's go to El Salvador. And I was like, why? She's like, well, there's more stuff for us to do there. And I'm like, El Salvador, bitch? Ain't nothing in El Salvador. Okay. And so we ended up going, but El Salvador is a place where they believe in magic. And so like the entities and stuff are bigger there, and like stronger and more powerful. And some of the most strong entities I've ever come across have come from Hispanic countries in Latin America. Okay. And I've encountered 2 beings, but the whole time that we was there, I was the first night I stayed by myself in like a treehouse bungalow. I didn't get attacked or anything, but the moment that we started sleeping in the same room, I got attacked every single night. And like the last attack, if I couldn't feel none of the energy in my body, and I always feel energy moving through my body, I couldn't feel no energy in my body. And so I went home, and at that time I had a spiritual teacher, and I had told her about it. And I told her that I felt like he was coming through my dreams, because I told the guy in the class that I have prophetic dreams, and so I felt like he was coming through my dreams, and she hadn't seen it before. And so when I told her the dream thing, she saw him, and she was like, it's a white man. And I was like, oh, I had a vision that 3 white men were standing above my head, and one of them put a cork in my head, and the other one put like I could feel his hands on my chest. And it's black magic, because you feel like I'm like peeling his hands back, and I pushed energy out. It was like blue dust flew up, and blue dust is magic, by the way. And she removed the tether that he had in me. But he was fucking with me for like 2 years, like 2.5 years. It was fucking insane. It was the craziest thing I ever been through in my life. And it's like right after, it's like my mouth started breaking out, and then my left eye started breaking out. And it's a certain terminology that Hispanic people use for this. It starts with an M. It's like Mujeres, or I don't know what they call it, but that's how you know you've been attacked or whatever. But I have a friend who's Haitian and Venezuelan, and she was like, oh, that is this. And she told me, and she was like, that's magic. And I was like, oh, thanks, girl. Thank you. But that was a basic. The other ones came through my dreams. And like one of them was like, I was scrolling through TikTok and I seen like a creator that I like. And so I stopped on his page. And when I did, the being was like, I got you. And then it was like a red ring went around his eye. Like, have you ever seen the show Magicians? Magicians, in the 5th and 6th season, there was this being that could jump consciousness to consciousness, and you knew that the being was in somebody's body because there was like a blue ring that went around the eye. It did just that, but it was red. And so I felt like his hand went into my back in my heart space, and the other one was in my neck. Like right here is a major chakra, right? And so he was pulling, and it felt like he was tugging. And so I was like, Taji, you got to wake up. You got to wake up. The whole time he's laughing. He's laughing in my ear. So I'm like, Taji, you got to wake up. You got to wake up. And so I jump up and I go right back into meditation, because I had read like 9 spiritual books at this point, because I was like every single day, every minute of the day I was studying, because I was like, oh yeah, bitch, you got me fucked up, you know? And so one of the books said you have to send them pure love, because in order for spirits to polarize in the negative, it requires extreme narcissism. It requires hatred. It requires all of that, but they have to be 95%. And so when you send them pure love, it's such a higher frequency than those lower frequencies. And so it depolarizes them, and it takes their work away from them. And so now they have to work even harder after all the work they've done. And so I went into meditation and I just re-visualized him, because he showed me him. You can't show me him. Now they don't show me shit, because they know if I see you or I hear you, it's over. But I re-visualized him, and I started sending genuine love to him. And it sounded like a linebacker ran through my motherfucking refrigerator. It literally, like my whole refrigerator was like, boom. That's how I found out that stainless steel appliances, because they're reflective, they're mirrors. So are your computer screens, so are the mirrors in your house. But anything that is reflective is a mirror. That means that energy can come through it. And so all of us, that got us all switching to stainless steel appliances, we think, oh, it's so cute. It's so, no, that's how energy can get in our house, and we can be manipulated. We can be interfered with. But they also taught me that memory foam mattresses keep memory. And so memory foam mattresses store energy, and these entities can come through a concentration of energy. So like your trash, or any place that's dark, like the corners of your walls, your closet, underneath your bed, like stagnant energy kind of gets accumulated there. And that's low vibrational energy, because it hasn't been cleared out. It hasn't been cleaned. That's why I say holiness is next to godliness, because if you clean the space, you move the energy, right? So because the energy is not moving in those places, because it's dark, it's cold, it's muggy, it's whatever, you never look under there, energies can come through. It kind of creates a portal for them to come through, because they only can come through on like energy. And that's why it's important for you to heal, because if you have shame and fear and whatever in your body, they thrive in those energies. So when they are moving through you, they can just hook onto that energy, and now they hooked onto you. And you can have an attachment that's internal or external, depending on how far gone you are, you know? So I hope that makes sense. I've done videos on this before, because again, like I dealt with so many different attacks for like 2.5 years. It was insane through my dream, but most of them came through my dreams, or when I was in a liminal space, meaning like it's a space that you kind of go through that's in between worlds. And it's black. It's just nothing but darkness there. And it's like you up, your body is asleep, but you're up, right? You can be like, black magic attacks usually happen in that space, if it's not happening while you're awake. Can you see my comments? Think so. What'd you say? Hold on. I needed this. Someone tried to hex me. I've definitely been attacked before. Yeah, car accidents are attacks too. And sometimes people are vessels for use. And what I mean by that is, you know, when I say somebody is soulless, that just means that they have less connection to their soul energy. And if you're not tethered to your soul energy, which is your heart, which is feeling, because your soul communicates through feeling. So the more that you go against yourself, the soulless you become, because you're not listening to yourself. You're not listening to your soul. Your soul is your internal compass, and it operates through feeling, right? And so if you're not using your vessel, you're not fully in your vessel, you're disembodied, you're hyper vigilant, you're all of those things, something can enter consciousness, other consciousness can enter in. And so you could have like a demon, whatever the fuck you want to call them. Those are conscious, meaning like those are sentient. They have their own mind, and so they're making decisions. Those ones are pretty tough to get rid of. The only one I ever had was from Venezuela, and that motherfucker had a Spanish accent, but he smelled like sewage, and he enters into the mouth of God, this is a chakra they don't teach us about, but it's really important to your oversoul embodiment. And it actually is like, have you ever seen the TV show Supernatural? Anytime they deal with demons, it's like black smoke. Same exact thing. That's how I know these people know this, and this is not imaginary. Like these people know this because I see it in TV shows, and I'm just like, oh no, bitch, that's real. That's actually a real thing. But they're not bad things, right? Because these are still parts of the dark side of psyche. So are they external of you? Yes. Because some people say, well, this is all in your mind, and that some of them are, but not all of them are. Not the sentient ones, not demons. Like that's different, which really they call daemons, but it doesn't really matter. The purpose of them, period, is that they only can attach to what you have not healed, and so they only mimic things that you're already telling yourself, and so like not all of your thoughts belong to you. And so that's why it's important that you witness your thoughts. You figure out whether or not you believe that thing. You try to figure out whose voice that is, because a lot of times we just repeating what our parents said to us and stuff like that. We don't know what life looks like without that type of chaos, and so we do it to ourselves, right? And so for me, I just took it as a learning experience. Instead of being afraid of it, I was like, okay, the only way that it can stay attached to me is if I have not healed this part. And so I need to pay attention to what's being said. And then I started paying attention to what was being said, and I started writing it down, and I started combating those thoughts. And then they didn't have anything else to hang on to, so you didn't do shit but elevate me more, because now I have like a map to what I need to deal with, because that's the only way for you to stay attached to me. And so to me, it was just like, okay, you ain't doing shit, but just telling me where I need to work on myself. And that's literally how I got to this point. It's through that type of energy. But I smell it like people don't realize, like, when the other day I had to get an entity off me because I had got spiritually attacked the other day, but you can't get into a vault, bitch. So what happened was I opened my door because I had ordered something like I think I was on my cycle, and I ordered some ibuprofen because I wasn't leaving the house. I was miserable. And so as soon as I opened the door, I smelt it because I can smell energy, and I smelt it. And so the person who had delivered my order was smoking weed. I could smell the weed on them, but I also could smell the attachment. So the attachment cannot get into this building unless it comes on a person, because for me and all my neighbors, I clear this bitch all the time, right? So it entered on this person, and then it attached itself to my bag, because again, attached to items, and so it attached itself to my bag, and I knew I was bringing it in because as soon as I swung it open, this person put it on my doorknob, meaning like they didn't set the food on the ground outside, they put it on my doorknob. So as soon as I opened the door, I let it in, because that's me opening the door, that's me welcoming it in. And that's how it's an entity that was sentient too, because it told the person to put it on my doorknob. It didn't just decide to put it on my doorknob, so because it knows the only way you getting in this bitch, if I smell you, I would have cleared it before I even brought it into my house. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, they put it on my doorknob. I opened the door, it's already in my house, and I'm like, okay. So I smell it around my house, and I'm just like, okay, I went and I saged, I did whatever, but I knew that it wasn't going to leave, because whatever it was strong, because they stink in a certain way when they're strong. And so what I did is I just put protections on myself before I went to sleep. I told my ancestors what was up, told my spirit team what was up, and I took my ass to sleep. And I found myself in a liminal space, and something was trying to push into my head. Like it was like pushing hard. And so I just started chanting, because we don't realize that chanting is how you reach a specific frequency. Our ancestors didn't chant just for the fucking fun of it. It is how you maintain a frequency. And so I started talking to my ancestors. I started chanting, and it was not able to attach to me. It had no other choice but to leave, because you're not getting in here. Even if I'm asleep, you're not getting in here, you know? And so you could be attacked in multiple different ways, though. A lot of car accidents are attacks, are spiritual attacks, whether you know it or not. I was told I was a medium as well. I sense things so heavy. My knowing is so prominent and on point. Oh, good. I hope I can get my coins together. Okay, makes sense. I love a good acronym. Yes, me too, girl. It's not something I do on purpose, though, honestly. I used to wake up with some kind of burn on my face that went away after a couple of days. Oh, damn. That's probably a bloodline situation. How they gonna be mad at me that I don't know? Type of shit is that? Okay. We leave our bodies when we sleep as we astral project, but don't remember, right? Yeah. So what we move across the ley lines of Earth, because you know how we got meridians in our body. Earth has the same thing, as above, so below. You know what I'm saying? Earth is really our God, our mother, right? We are inhabitants of her. She created our body. She held us in her womb. She created our body. And then cosmically to stardust, right? And so when we go to sleep at night, we travel across the ley lines, and we astral project, but we just don't be remembering all the time. And so yeah, and so what happens with sleep paralysis? You waking up, you don't have enough energy for your body to separate, meaning like your physical body and your astral body. So what happens is you wake up while your physical body is still asleep and your conscious mind is gone. And so what we do is we typically panic because our amygdala is activated, and your amygdala is responsible for fear, right? But your amygdala is activated because you're in your subconscious mind, which is where fear is housed. Fear and your belief systems and all those things are housed in the subconscious mind. And so what you really need to do is float up to the ceiling. But most people get scared because they already have attachments, and those attachments attack them in that space to try to scare them because they feed off of your fear. You know, and so you're really supposed to astral project from that place, but it's just that you didn't have enough energy between your physical and astral body. And that's why most people who go into sleep paralysis are people who are exhausted, people who are really tired, people who are beat down, you know, and it's because you don't have energy at that time, like you're spiritually exhausted. Love a Sag. My mom is a Sag too. I love Sagittariuses, but as an earth sign, they just move too fast and too recklessly for me. You know, love them down, my spontaneous queens, my real bitches. Because one thing about a Sagittarius is they gonna always be honest. They gonna always keep it a buck. You know, they are the kings and queens of finesse. I will say that much. But they always gonna keep it a buck. But they move too quick for me. Like I need a little more structure. You know. Okay, I'll talk into the air every day, child. Always. Me too. I didn't know it was that simple. Yeah, a lot of it is way simpler than we think it is. And I think because they have specifically taught us to exert all this effort so that when we try to get into the feminine energy, it feels so uncomfortable. We think we need to be doing more. We need to be giving more. We need to be whatever. And we try to force our way through it, and it just doesn't work that way. It just doesn't work that way, you know? Okay, my goddess, something like that happened to me while I was in the hospital. Oh yeah, hospitals are grounds for attachments. Hospitals, bars, anybody who is stuck in like paranoia. And if you're sleeping with somebody, that is an energy exchange. You are consenting to switching energy with them. And so, have you ever seen a girl who gets with a dude and all of a sudden she looks dull, like she ain't glowing, she ain't nothing, then she break up with that man and all of a sudden she glowing, she's doing everything. All right now. Yeah, my friend brother committed suicide and I definitely felt his energy. He's earthbound. Yeah. And so suicide and sudden death a lot of times end up being earthbound spirits. You got to be careful too with them because sometimes they're targeted on the other side. And what I mean by that is like, because we're not taught about death and stuff like that. Certain entities will target people who have committed suicide or who died in a sudden way because they know that they're kind of lost on Earth's plane, and so they'll use them for specific things. And like, so what'll happen is like, say for instance, somebody is trying to get in contact with their ancestors and this person is in a bloodline. That person will come and like literally start trying to direct them from a narcissistic place. And it almost feels like you will know when something is operating at a light, because there's no force, there's no coercion, there's no manipulation. If you don't do this, this is going to happen. Like, it's nothing like that. And so like sometimes your ancestors could be attached to you as an attachment as well, if they operating out of the wrong energy, or they are trying to live life through you vicariously, if that makes sense. That must be explained. The movement of my bedside lamp every night. Oh yeah, it could be an elemental. It could be elemental. Wait, so it's a choice. Like, do you get assigned in different realms or spaces? What do you mean by that? Yes, it's a choice because you need to direct yourself. Meaning like, if I'm about to astral project, I know I'm about to astral project because it feels like I'm flipping backwards, and then I hear this whooshing sound. And so when I feel like I'm about to start flipping backwards, I point myself to my star guide. Like, I'll be like, oh, let me go talk to my star guide, or oh, let me go talk to my oversoul, or oh, let me go to the healing plane. And because I know so much about the astral plane, and I know so much about the spiritual side of things, I just choose where I want to go. Like, I got rid of my anxiety overnight because I just went to the healing plane and they stuck me with these needle things. And I woke up and I ain't had no anxiety, and I started panicking because I'd never lived without anxiety. And I was like, oh, is this what it feels like to not be anxious? So I just point myself in that direction, and so you really need to study the spiritual side of things, like, because I didn't know nothing. I didn't know anything about 4 years ago. And then when I got spiritually attacked, I was like, I read every single book I could get my fucking hands on, because I was like, oh, hell no, bitch. I don't even play like this. It was scary, yes, but I never been one to back down from anything. You're going to have to whoop me for real, for real. And I will find out a way to whoop you back. So you better watch out, because you won't do nothing but motivate me. Suffering runs deep. I'm too scared to astral project. Yeah, you don't want to astral project if you're afraid of what's going to happen, because that's going to point you downwards. You do not want to be pointed down. Let me just say, you do not want to be pointed down. Okay? It's quite scary. I'm doing good, Phoenix. How are you? But with me, I don't know my family. It's okay. You don't have to know them. You don't have to know them. They know you. They live inside of you. Whatever you don't know about them, you can ask them. You can ask them their name. You can ask them whatever. But only call on the ones that are aligned with your highest good and want to see you succeed in this lifetime. That are aligned with your oversoul's light. Call them forward. And then when you get a response from them, whether it be them talking to you or whatever the case may be, you have a conversation with them like you would a person. Like, I didn't know nothing about my Auntie Annie. She the one who told me that I was collapsing timelines, and they were generational and interdimensional, and that's why she needed me to feel it in my body, like the tension. She had me working 9 hours straight because she needed me to feel it in the tension in my body, because that's where I'm holding ancestral grief, and the only way for me to release it is I have to feel it again. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Thanks, girl, for the pain you just put me through. And like, literally after I got done, I could not stand up. I woke up the next day, I was perfectly fine. But after I got done, I could not stand up. I could not walk. I couldn't sit down. I couldn't nothing. It was like somebody hit me with a goddamn freight train. It was terrible. I'm so happy you defeated that attack. It sounds so wild. Yeah. No, he kicked my ass. I ain't gonna lie. He did beat me up, friend. He did beat me up. He did for a little while. But never again. You'll never be able to get me like that again, sir. So thank you for the lesson. Needed that. Oh my goodness, something like that happened to me while I was in the hospital. When somebody sends something my way, or if I'm messing with somebody who was sent to attack me, I can see the demon attached to them. They literally reveal themselves to me. Oh, good. You might be a shadow walker, baby. And that's not a bad thing, because when you operate in the shadows, can't shit hide from you at all. Yes, I hear that. What's your numerology number? I'm a my life path is a 33. So I'm a ascended master teacher, master teacher. What the fuck is the healing plane? So the healing plane is a plane where there are beings. It's actually where we get beauty from. Like and when I say beauty, that's energy that's channeled down from this plane, and it's kind of like a band of energy. And so everything there is more bright, it's more exuberant. It's where we get like music from. Music comes from this plane as well, but also beauty. So when we look at the landscape and we look at these beautiful mountains and sunsets, all of that energy is channeled down from this healing plane, right? That's why art is healing and music is healing and beauty is healing. So on that plane are beings, and these beings help send energy down here for us to heal when it's time for us to heal. But they also, you can actually, there are beings who live on that plane, and so you can go there for healing. There's a being there named Abraham who is like a top dog there. But there's also other beings, and they kind of like got bubbly looking heads. I don't know how else to explain that. Like their head kind of gives like a Squidward type of vibe. But like I had got scared when I was there because I didn't know what the fuck was going on, even though I asked to go there. Every time I did that and I actually went to the place that I was asking to go, I would get scared and I would be like, no, don't touch me, you know. But the being transformed into my brother in front of me, but I knew it wasn't my brother because of his head shape. Like his head shape was just a little too big at the top, you know. But no, it's a plane that you can go to, you know, because we don't live on a planet, we live on a plane of existence. We live on a plane. And so just how Earth is a plane, there are other planes. There's other layers you can go to. And the healing plane is one of those layers. It's actually, I think the fifth plane, I think is where, it's the fifth plane. And so we also have we have a healing plane. Above the healing plane is the how, I don't know how to explain this, but it's like an intellectual plane. It's kind of like where the Akashic records are. Because the Akashic records only live on Earth, because when the Akashic records used to be somewhere else, but when there was the fall of Lyra, they needed to move these libraries to different places, and the Akashic records had to be moved to Earth, right? And so the Akashic records is on this intellectual plane, and so like our inventions come from here. So like any invention, anything that has ever been invented comes from this ideas plane, I guess is what you want to call it. But like a lot of our great inventors like Nikola Tesla or also Edgar Cayce, they hang out on these planes. And Beethoven, like he hangs out on the healing plane. And like sometimes when people are playing his music, he comes and he sits with you and he helps you, you know. Michael Jackson is the same way. Like if you're listening to his music, he'll come and he'll jam with you, you know. And so Tina Marie is another one who does that. Tina Marie invited me to a concert one time because I was in a tizzy, y'all. So one day I was listening to damn, what's the name of that song? I could hear it in my head. Out on the Limb. So I was listening to Out on the Limb by Tina Marie, and I was looping it because I stem. Like I will run something into the fucking ground until I'm tired of listening to it, you know? And so like I was stemming that day, and I was just like, I just kept replaying. I was like, again, like this bitch didn't get her credit. They did her so wrong. And I'm just like going on this tangent about Tina Marie, right? And I'm like, the industry did her so fucking wrong, you know, talking about her and Rick James, because they was really like a dynamic duo. Like, you know, I knew they was in there on that coke, that good coke, you know, because the shit they made was magic. And so I'm like on a tangent about it right before I go to bed. And I was like, you know, it's so fucking sad that I don't get to see her in concert. And I'm like one of her biggest fans. Like, I love me some Tina Down. I go to sleep that night and I am pulled into this theater, right? And so it's me and my brother, and somebody's like like I'm standing at this door and they checking our tickets. And I remember the ticket said like E45 or something. It was like blue seats that kind of like was like foot down seats or whatever. And so we go into our seats, which actually was not far back. But we go into our seats and I'm like, brother, let's sit up there. And he was like, no, we have assigned seats. And I was like, stickler. And so we get into the seats, and the background singers are on the stage, and it's like a red, like velvet um curtain. You know what I'm saying? Like, do you know like those old school like, curtains for a stage performance? I don't fucking know. It was red velvet though. And it's like the backup singers were kind of to the left and they were singing my favorite part of the song. And Tina came out. She looked good. Like she was, she was like looking good. And she started singing my favorite part. And it's chills started going through my body. It was like my heart was like vibrating. Like, I don't even know how to explain it, but then she came into the crowd and she looked at me and she whatever. And I woke up. I was so fucking geeked. I was so excited. I promise you it was because I was stimming and she came and she said, you know what? It's okay. I got a concert for that ass. Come on. You can come to my concert. Anywho, good shit. Ever heard of Blue Avion? No, I haven't. Who is Blue Avion? Like the head of your coupe, kind of. Yeah. Yes, kind. It's very like ovally at the top. So yeah, your coupe would be definitely a good example of that. Any beginner book recommendations? Yes. So there's a book list that I have on my YouTube. It's on TikTok too. If you go to where like on my page, it says book club. Go to that and I have some books for you to read there. Um I heard I was collapsing timelines myself. Oh, that makes sense. I think a lot of us are kind of are. I'm also a master 33. Okay, hey twin. What's crazy because I do work in the shadows. Oh, that makes sense. I actually get people all the time who are just like, oh, your job is so heavy. Oh, your job is so whatever. I'm like, no, it's heavy for you because you are trying to understand me from your perspective. For me, I've been through hell and back. This ain't nothing. This just a normal Tuesday. Oh, wow. I connect to that understanding. I believe that realms opened us in the 90s. Yeah, because there was a lot of starseeds that started coming really at the 60s. But a lot of us came in the 90s though, who were meant to awaken at this time, because when you come in the 90s, you're right at that 33 is like when your soul fully awakened, when you start to embody your oversoul. And so a lot of us came at that 92, 93, like that area, because it puts us right on track for integration at this time in history. And this time in history is important because the new earth frequency is being anchored in. It's not going to be fully stabilized until 2038. No, what's 8 years from now? 2032. What's the 5, 6, 7, 8, 9? Yeah, 2, 3. I don't know. It's one of those. 32, 38. I can't remember. But right now, a lot of us are through our frequency, through us discovering ourselves, through us anchoring back into our original tone, we are building the infrastructure up for the new earth frequency. Which is already here, but it's like, what side are you tapped in? And once you go to that side, you can't come back to the other side. It doesn't work like that. I'm an 11 life path though. Oh, but that's still 11 life paths are supposed to go first on the path of enlightenment, and then they come back and help other people. So yeah, I think any of the ascended master numbers are really, really important. And ascended masters kind of hover on because there's a plane of review, right? And so like a lot of times when people go through their life review, they go to this plane of review, which is like the fourth plane. It's right above the astral plane, and it's where you can kind of figure out if you want to go to a higher plane or not, or you can kind of work as like a teacher, or like it's like they kind of do work in that plane still here on earth, because it's like the closest to earth out of the celestial planes, meaning like how they say heaven, there's more than one heaven, right? Because heaven is just like the upper realms, the upper planes. And so it's the first of the celestial planes. And so a lot of our spirit guides, a lot of our ascended masters, a lot of beings that are helping with the earth project are on that fourth plane. Tupac too. Girl, tell Tina to call me. That's my girl. That is my girl. I love Tina. Damn. It's insane. It's actually insane. And like she can do no wrong in my eyes. And so yeah, she came and got me and took me to a con. And I was like, you know what? I feel like if I was a singer, I would want me to be the target audience, meaning that I know good music. I'm a Taurus with a Taurus Venus and a Taurus Mercury. Okay. I'm a Taurus through and through. I love me, and I got a Libra rising, baby. Okay, don't get more Venus than me. You know, I got love on my wrist right here, right? Um, so I haven't people confuse Taurus energy with being materialistic. What the fuck is this? I'm sorry. One second. He's howling at the moon. I don't know what's going on, but I don't like it. Okay, anyways. Um, but one thing that I love about Taurus is that we appreciate materialism, and people confuse that from being materialistic. That's not the same thing. Appreciating materialism means that we live our life through our senses, which means we like good food, we like good views, we like good music, we like good fashion. Like everything has to be aesthetically pleasing for us, and we can see the beauty in any experience. And so, one thing that Taurus does well is emotional vulnerability, but it's also seeing the beauty in your experiences and helping you to look at life through the lens of beauty when you are appropriately aligned with Taurus energy. And so a lot of times people say that we're materialistic, and it's not true. We appreciate materialism, the material plane, the physical plane, And so if I was an artist, I would want me as the target audience, because when I am singing or listening to something, it's like I feel into the music. I listen to the lyrics. It's like I'm having a full body experience when I listen to music. And so I was excited about that. Tina, I love you, girl. Tupac got a plane called something Mansion. Oh, does he? Venus, Sun, Scorpio, Moon, Libra rising. See, I'm a Taurus Sun, Scorpio, Moon, Libra rising. Um, I'm a 16/7. What does that mean? So 16 is 7, which is the energy of the philosopher, somebody who likes the hidden things, mystery, and things like that. I'm actually born on the 16th as well, which means that my second life path number, or my special skill, is the energy of a philosopher. And so this is somebody who really, really enjoys looking into the mysteries of life, and collecting data and information, and seeking to understand the things that are kind of behind the scenes, that the woo-woo shit that people don't talk about. Every philosopher falls underneath this 7 energy. And so this is like a deep thinker. This is like that statue is that 7 energy. So yeah, that's my second my special life skill energy, meaning you really don't have one life path number, you have 5. And so most people don't realize that you have 5 life path numbers and not one. And so I'm a Venus in Scorpio. Ooh, child. See, I'm not a Venus in Scorpio. My Venus is in Taurus, but my Venus is in the 8th house with my Sun in Scorpio. And so I kind of get that. I kind of get where you're coming from, sister. Not fully, but because I still got that Venus energy there, but we right there though. We're going through a similar experience. I'm a Cancer rising. See, no, I'm a Cancer midheaven, which means Cancer is what I mastered in a previous lifetime. So I'm really good at Cancer, nurturing, family, and wanting that external validation, wanting that belonging. And also Cancer has like a little vicious energy to it as well. Cancers are very much so a little, yeah. But anywho, y'all, I just wanted to hop on here and chat with y'all for a little bit. My dad called me like 2 hours ago, and I need to call this man back because we've been missing each other for like 3 days. So I love y'all. I hope y'all have an amazing rest of y'all day. I might be on here later on in the week. I really just wanted to hop on here and chop it up, but this will be on YouTube if you want to go back and watch it. But I love y'all, and I'll talk to y'all later. Thank you to everybody who joined today. Oh shit, there's like 7 messages. Hold on, let me look and see what I missed real quick. Hello, I'm probably late. Tina Marie is one of her songs. She says she is a star seed. Oh, really? Did she? I can see that. Are you able to find your birth chart without the time of birth? It's not going to be accurate, but you can find your time of birth by going to the county that you were born in. Go to your county recorder's office or vital statistic office and tell them that you need a long form birth certificate. You'll know that it's the long form because it has a birthing number in the top right corner. They usually give it to you same day, and it's only like $7 to $15 at the most. But you can get your birth, you can get that. But certain people who are born between like a 20-year period, a whole generation, they had stopped collecting birth times. And so if your parents don't have that, you might not have that. So if you're born in like, I want to say like it's the 60 to 70-ish area, I'm still trying to learn all my Taurus stuff. Yeah, Tauruses are complicated, but very much so needed in this environment. Like I would not have chosen any other star sign. I know why I chose Taurus, and like Taurus is fully embodied. It's the Empress energy, and I had looked at Vedic astrology because like yo astrology would be or sidereal astrology, like it's different. Most people have a different sun sign. Mine's is still Taurus. Mine's is still Taurus. So yeah. I'm back. I applied for the school. How soon will you be letting me know if I've been accepted? So it's probably gonna be next week because I got a bunch of new applications in and I haven't got a chance to look at them to figure out like who in the second wave of people. And this week I'm technically off, meaning like it's the holidays. And even though I don't celebrate them, it was a great and convenient excuse for me to do nothing this week. And so it'll probably be the week after. Thank you. This is so fun. Oh, good. Oh, you're welcome, Chewy. I'm glad I tuned in. I love this. Oh, good, my love. I'm glad. Oh, I got you. Um, yeah, it is such a complex sign for sure. But I love being a Taurus. Like I feel like I did not have to come here with my sun and my Venus in the eighth house of. Like that's very ghetto. I don't know who the fuck I thought I was and why I thought I needed to do that, but I could have saved that shit. That is so unfair. It's so unfair. And then I got Saturn in my fourth house with my family. Oh, baby, the lessons. But I think it did make me deep. I think that my value comes from my depth because of that. Which I enjoy, but it was a hard path, baby. I literally said yes, death row contract. Sign me up for that shit. Me too, girl. Gee, I'm so glad I'm a Taurus. Me too. I love being a Taurus. Like there is no better sign. And Tauruses can actually date their own sign. And I've dated two Taurus men. I do run the smear campaign against you. So if you're a Taurus man and you in here, I hate you. Goodbye. No, I'm just kidding. But I'm just kidding. but um but I love Taurus energy. Like I don't think there's anybody more creative than us, more magnetic, more just I just love it. Like all of my friends growing up was Tauruses. Like still to this my best bitch is a Taurus. You know what I'm saying? So it's nobody like us. And I think we are such a harmonious energy. Meaning like we kind of get along with everybody. Um we're not friends with everybody, but we get along with everybody if we choose. If we choose to get along with you, we will. But I like how we're good at everything. Like literally all the artistic expression, all the things we just happen to be just we could skate through by the skin of their teeth, by the skin of our teeth, like the Chris Browns of the world, you know, the Zendayas, the Tiana Taylors. Like there's Taurus energy there for sure, because you can't appreciate the arts without that Taurus energy. Not trying to brag, but we are top tier. Yes, I am trying to brag. Actually, I love. I understood, and that's what the journey is about, though. The journey is about you figuring out why you chose this for you. And you falling in love with your choice all over again. Like so when it sucked while I was going through it, but when I actually understood why I chose this mission, why I chose this family, why I chose like, oh my God, it's so all of my relationships are so much deeper, even though not everybody still needs healing. Everybody still needs healing, but I could see how they got there. I understand them and I understand the beauty in their experience. And also I see my impact on the people around me, because I think when people start being around me, they start to shift their perspective on things, just because my field and energy is really strong because I'm fully embodied. And so like, I understand why I chose my mom. I couldn't have picked a better person for what I needed to learn through her. I understand why I chose all of them. My brother is my sibling, my cut. Like, I just understand even this family. It's like, I love it. Like my family is not a terrible family. My family is the type of family where we have family functions. All of my friends hang out with my family outside of me. Like if I'm off, because I'm always off somewhere, which could be moving to another state, just off in somewhere, my friends and my family still hang out together and they be doing barbecues and game nights and cookouts and all kind of shit. Like I have that type of family, so it's like I get why I chose what I chose. Yes, at first I wasn't understanding, but now I see. Yeah, it's like you come to understand when you start looking at life through a different lens, and you realize not everybody is trying to hurt you. Sometimes people's intention and impact are different, you know? And so like when people are struggling, you know, like they end up hurting people, or when people are suffering, they end up hurting people. It's not that they intended on hurting you. It's just that that was the impact that they had, you know? And I think that when we can release that, and when we can stop moving from this place of being a victim and blaming other people, we can start to see the beauty in the lessons that we learn from that, though, because I realized that the shit that I went through when I was a kid, I probably shouldn't have never, I wouldn't wish that on any fucking kid. However, it gave me skills that most people don't have in life. It gave me skills, it gave me wisdom, it gave me understanding that most people don't get. You know what I'm saying? Unless you've had the experience, you know? And so I understand things from such a compassionate lens because of what I've been through. And so we chose this perfectly for ourselves. And so you got to fall in love with what you chose. And I'm in love with what I chose. I did a good job. Pat myself on the back. You know, it was a long journey, but I'm glad that I got here. I didn't used to look at it this way, you know, but now I do. So yeah, anywho, I could talk all day with y'all. I love y'all. I'm going. See y'all later.